What's freaking going on, dude? Wow, that is dark. It is really, I am dark.
I see you, homie.
Hold on a second. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes, I was echoing for a minute there. I don't know why. Oh, hold on a second, dude. I don't know what's going on, but something's echoing.
Okay. It's only on your end. I'm listening to the live stream right now.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why it's doing that. 1 second. Yeah, every time I say something, it's like a delayed, weird echo, and then it says it over again. I'm not sure why it's doing that.
Hey, are you do you have your thing open on your YouTube browser open to your show? Are you hearing yourself coming back in from your show because you have a browser open?
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh my gosh, yes, that's what was going on. I was like, "What is going on? I'm losing my mind." That was
We
freaking
back.
wild. Oh my gosh. All right. Let me move this light really quick because I think that's part of the problem why we're not getting so much light in here.
Make it happen, boys. Who's over in the live chat? I see Jessica. I see Lex. I see Steve. Good to see you, Steve. Long time no see, homie. Hi, Steve in the house, brother. Good to see you, my man.
Is that a little bit better lighting wise? Yeah.
Kelly. Yeah, there we go.
All right. All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for joining us tonight, this fine evening. Ryan just got back into the country, and then I was like, hey, want to do a live stream right away?
Yeah, sure do.
So here we are, dude. So for those people that may not know who you are, kind of do a little bit of an intro, and then we'll just kind of dive in. And I'm gonna adjust my camera really quick.
Yeah, let's do it. So my name's Ryan Matta. I'm an investigative journalist, documentary filmmaker, freedom-loving patriot, Bitcoin maximalist, recently churned into a all-American, America-only patriot. You know, I started in politics probably about 4 years ago. I couldn't even tell you, maybe 5 years ago now, I couldn't tell you what a Speaker of the House was, couldn't tell you what, the DOJ did, couldn't tell you the difference between the FBI and the CIA. And then after watching what we went through during COVID, the rigged elections in 2020, I started getting a little bit more involved in politics. Then when YouTube censored me because I put out a video of Bitcoin saying that, or Andrew Tate saying that Bitcoin was a better investment than a house, and they demonetized my channel that I had spent the last 3 years building, kind of propelled me into the political arena. And the same day I lost all my income from YouTube, a company called LFA TV offered me a job, and I went and worked on their network. Whistleblowers came forward my first week on the show with a story about our government running the world's largest child trafficking network via HHS and DHS. And that's what I was investigating going down to the border. And one thing led to the next, and I started putting out documentaries trying to expose it. Because when you come back with a story that you think is going to be the story of a century about how our government is literally using our tax dollars to fund a child trafficking operation, where that resulted in, it wasn't like it was my opinion, right? It was our government telling you, and 2 months into the Biden administration, they had lost 20,000 children. 2 years in, they lost 85,000 children. Then 4 years later, it was up to 350,000 children that our government took physical possession of. These are children ages 0 to 17 that arrived at our southern border without a parent. Our government takes possession of them because once a child steps foot on USA soil without a parent, it becomes property of the United States government. And America is the number one child trafficking. So America is the number one consumer of child porn, the number one consumer of child ritual sacrifice, the number one consumer of child R, and the number one consumer of child porn. America is the last country you want your child lost in. And our government took physical possession of 452,121 children over a 4-year period. Then they vetted the adult that they delivered them to, and they delivered 350,000 of them to an adult that they vetted. And then within a 30-day period, when they tried to make contact with the adult and said child, they couldn't make contact with either. So that's led to me producing about 3 or 4 documentaries on child trafficking. My most recent one was actually on CPS, because in the entire time, 3 years, I spent investigating the child trafficking network that DHS and HHS were operating, that we knew that they were operating, that were being funded with our tax dollars. I couldn't figure out one thing, how we went from never trafficking children to becoming the number one child trafficking operation network in the world, and how you can move 350,000 children into a country and just disappear them. That isn't by accident. You need a machine, and the machine was firing on all cylinders. It was operating like a full-scale military operation. I couldn't figure it out. And then come to find out, as I dig deeper into it, it wasn't HHS, or it wasn't the United States government's first forte at trafficking children. They've been doing it with CPS and kidnapping American children from American parents for about since 1996, I believe, is when ASFA, the act, was passed. And CPS got in the business of trafficking American children. So that's kind of my shtick. I give you enough time?
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it, dude. I absolutely love it. I can also vouch for everything you said as far as the child trafficking stuff, because I probably haven't been as deep as you are, not even close, but I've been involved in anti-child trafficking for now 3 years or so, 4 years, and yeah, I've seen it. I mean, it's 100% the truth, and our country is largely to blame for the problem in general, and how much. I mean, I think you already said it. We're the largest consumer and the largest producer, I think, of
CP,
CSA, yeah, CP.
Yeah. So, and 52% of all CP and all CP websites on the internet today are ran by our FBI. Let that sink in.
Go figure.
Right.
Oh man. Well, and also I want to make sure that we point this out too, because the way I found you is actually through my buddy Ian Carroll. Most of the people in here are going to know who he is, but I found you because of this documentary, and I'm going to pull it up real quick because guys, if you haven't seen this yet, or if you haven't watched it, I highly suggest you do. I'm not going to play like audio or anything, but this is the Creating Israel documentary that Ryan made with Ian Carroll. And Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, but you produced the entire thing, didn't you?
Yeah. I flew out and met with Ian. Ian wrote the script for it, and we recorded it together. And then I had my team produce the entire thing. Yep. Yeah.
And it's absolutely incredible. I mean, it goes into, everything. It basically is like, the way I look at it is it's like a Reader's Digest version crash course of, One Nation Under Blackmail versus Occupation of the American Mind versus Europa. Like, it's kind of a combination of like everything all rolled into one. And yeah, I absolutely love it, man. I thought it was freaking great. So if you guys are not, I didn't even have that on the stage. I'm actually retarded. Here it is. This is the documentary, guys. Make sure you go check it out. Creating Israel, Terror in the Middle East. Just absolutely incredible job kind of blending all those things. And that's how I found Ryan, and just been a fan ever since, man. Been watching your stuff, and you've shared my stuff a bunch of times too. The thing I love about you, bro, is, and I already told you this, but you're the only one, literally the only one, who I think every single time you share any content, you don't only give credit to the person that you're sharing any of the content from, even if it's like not even their original content. You literally do like a full-fledged shout out, and you're like, follow this person, and here's their page. Like, first of all, it's super high integrity. Second of all, it's just awesome that you have, that abundance mindset of like, I'm going to share everybody and anybody that I possibly can, because that's also how I operate as well. And that was one of the things that really caught my eye about you. So happy to have you on, man. I'm glad we were finally able to make this happen. So I want to have you here in person eventually and do like an actual Ian Went Show podcast episode, because I only do those in person, but I'm stoked to do this stream with you.
Yeah, man. Anytime you want me to come out, just let me know, brother. I'd be honored to be there. And that Ian documentary is literally like Ian was saying, it's a crash course for somebody who's waking up and going, something's not right here. I feel like our government's controlled or occupied. Maybe I want to learn a little bit more about Israel and the actual creation of Israel and how it got created. And it walks you through how the United States government has basically went from, having nothing to do with Israel to be basically being occupied by Israel over, a 50, 60, 70-year period. Ian does the best job at going all the way back to even the creation of the FBI and how the FBI was created, And at one point, the J-word people couldn't be employees in the FBI. If you were from Israel and you applied to work at the FBI, I don't think you were legally allowed to work there. I know Hoover wouldn't let you work there until probably the 80s, 90s. I forget when they changed that law or changed that rule. But at one point when the FBI was first created, if you were from that part of the country, the part of the world, you weren't legally allowed to work in our FBI. Times have got completely different now, right? Now I would say probably what percentage of FBI agents do you think are IDF soldiers? What percentage of ICE agents do you think are IDF soldiers? And it's crazy that we allow people to serve in a foreign military and then come over here and police the American people, where I believe we're the only country in the world that would allow that to happen. You know, don't quote me on that, but I'm not positive, but it seems pretty crazy, doesn't it?
For sure. I mean, look, I feel like every time I turn around, there's something else that's happening that I'm just like, why? Like, why are we allowing this? Why is it? I mean, we all know why. And it's because of this documentary that I'm literally pointing out right now. I believe, I truly, this isn't just like I think a lot of people look at the Epstein files at this point as just like fatigue. And it's like, oh, you know, we're going back to that. That's the easy like scapegoat. No. I think it literally is the key to everything. I mean, it's the silent pressure that is being applied behind the scenes to make everything that's happening right now happen. It's doing the bidding of Israel because they have the freaking Trump card, right? No pun intended. But the fact that all this stuff is coming out about our, you know, and I haven't totally verified this, and I have a couple buddies that are actually in ICE, and they themselves also say they haven't verified anything, but like they wouldn't be surprised if it was the truth. And the whole thing about, you know, ICE agents training in Tel Aviv and there being IDF soldiers within ICE, and I definitely wouldn't doubt it at all at this point. But you know, it's just crazy how much they're involved. Like every time you turn around, I heard this statement. I've said this multiple times, but it's basically, it's not all of them, but it's always them, right? Like, I mean, it could not be more true. Prove me wrong. I mean, I don't know if you saw this, dude, but I was just smeared and doxxed by Canary Mission.
I saw that. I saw those attacks coming at you. I seen quite a few posts that you put out about them.
Yeah. It's actually the greatest thing. Like they got me. I think I got 7,500 extra followers across 3 platforms because of them. So I was like, sick, dude. Thank you. Yep. If you go read the comments on that Facebook post, actually, it's so funny. I think there's like thousands at this point of comments that are all just like, yeah, everything he said was right. I agree with it. Thank you for showing me someone else to follow. My new favorite podcaster. Like, it's so funny, dude. And what's even the best part about it too is like, I literally not one time in any of my content ever have said the Jews when I'm talking about any of these things, ever, not one time. And they tried, the whole smear campaign was under the premise of me being a Jew hater and blaming the Jews for everything. And yet the post that they used to try and like smear me, not one of the posts ever said the words the Jews, not one time. And so I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, this is obviously you're reaching. And it was so funny because everybody in the comments could see it too. I was literally just talking about Israel and the freaking, you know, ethno-political state and regime that's going on over there. But it was so funny that they tried so hard, because I'm like, Canary Mission's been around since like the 70s. Like, that's right. Am I wrong? 70s or 80s at least.
Yeah. Who is the Canary Mission? What is that? Is just like another ADL?
Dude, they're pretty big actually. The Canary Mission is there's a documentary out there. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's like behind the scenes footage of these 2 dudes that look like they're college age kids, and they're like sitting on a couch, and they're being interviewed about how they basically go after protesters in colleges and call them anti-Semitic and all these different things just for criticizing the government. Like, they literally say it outright. They're like, yeah, if you criticize the government of Israel, we smear you and we make you look like an anti-Semite. They literally say it like right in camera. And I think it was from like the 80s, like the late 80s, maybe early 90s. I don't know. It's super old footage. And they're a pretty heavily Israeli-backed doxing machine. And so when I saw that happen, I was like, dang, dude, you guys are reaching, because bro, I don't even have 500,000 followers on on any of my platforms. Like, I definitely have reach and I definitely have high engagement. And I think everybody knows that. But at the same time, I was like, why are they coming after me? Like, it felt very much like, you know, when, and I mean, at this point, I don't even know if he's a Fed or not, but when Nick tells the story about how Ben Shapiro came after him when he was like a nobody, right? It definitely felt like that. And I was like, I think they see me as a threat because of the men's group that I'm building, right? Like, maybe I don't know. I couldn't figure it out, but I was just like, this is crazy. But it ended up being a positive thing, not a freaking negative thing. It ended up biting them in their ass. So, you know.
Well, all of those organizations, just like the raids, and I put it up here on my screen. So these are the anti-ICE protests, right? Every organization, every mass protest, every bit of mass public outrage where you feel like there's a large group of people that are all coordinated in the same kind of like, I don't know, anti-America standpoint. So Millie Weaver just broke this, and she says breaking international or internal anti-ICE protest groups docs revealed. So they've infiltrated all the signal groups and all these intelligence groups that are boots on the ground here in Minnesota. And they have anti-ICE rapid response network. They have training and disrupting and documenting ICE raids. They have ICE watch alert system and signal alert groups. So they've built a system that sends out alerts and signal groups and chats and texts to massive groups as they're organizing and coordinating these ICE watch protests. They have tracking and surveillance tactics against federal agents. They've built a database or some way for them to track and surveil federal agents. They've assigned roles in coordinating ICE disruptions. So you're the lieutenant, you're the one organizing this, blah, 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 blah. They have instructed high-risk action, obstructing ICE during raids, get in the face of ICE agents and chant from blockade and lines, get physically close to ICE agents while videotaping, ICE vehicle tracking. They have a guidance on law enforcement data forensics to hide evidence and evade leaving data trails while crossing the border or traveling internationally. I mean, this is like a full detailed intel group. And it says, last but not least, don't self-incriminate. And there's a 13-minute video. That's how long it takes her to kind of go over and explain every piece of every detail about these groups and how they're operating, all of which are funded with our tax dollars. Canary Mission, same thing. These government organizations, these non-governmental groups, these non-governmental agencies, they all act, in my personal opinion, as front organizations for our intelligence agencies. And then like this is happening right here on U.S. soil. We know it's happening. We've exposed that it's happening. We have investigative journalists that have done the work of the DOJ, the FBI, and the CIA. Like our government is supposed to be preventing this type of shit. Like, could you imagine if MAGA on January 6th would have organized something even a fraction as sophisticated as this? I mean, there were J6ers that were going to prison for 20 years for stepping on the Capitol grounds. Enrique Tarrio didn't even go to January 6th. He was a Proud Boy and he was in California. And the dude got 20 years in prison for being like the leader of the Proud Boys or something like that. And he wasn't even the leader of the Proud Boys. He was just like a self-anointed leader.
Why do you think they're getting away with it? Why do you think why do you think this is flying under the radar? Because here's the thing. Here's what I struggle with the signal chat thing. Because I did see that. Okay. I struggle with it because of who actually posted that signal chat, which is Cam Higbee. Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about Cam Higbee, but he was one of the ones that was on the Israeli tour. And he wasn't only on the he wasn't only one of the influencers on the Israeli tour, bro. He was gobbling up Bibi Netanyahu's sack. That dude, and I quote, one of his most famous tweets is, "The IDF is the most moral army in the world." Like, you can look it up right now, dude. He is the biggest Zionist puppet of many of those influencers. And I literally followed his entire path leading up to when he went on the tour with Israel. I followed the entire thing. I watched him become, the spokesperson for Israel, like all the other influencers. I watched him become the propaganda horn. And I literally called it as it went. I said, this dude is going to get invited to Israel. This dude's going to get invited to Israel. Sure enough, he goes on that Israel trip. He's one of the ones that posed on the tank, took a picture on the tank like it was a photo op. He's the one that had the freaking cocktail hour in Tel Aviv with Xavier. Okay, they literally had a poster for it. Come and meet these influencers and have cocktail hour in the middle of a freaking genocide. It was the most like the closest thing to the Hunger Games that I think I've ever seen. And dude, he was gobbling it up so hard the entire time. He's the one that made the post. Not they all made posts, but he made one of the most popular posts at the supply depot station where they had all the freaking, I'm talking about, where they have all the stacks of food and everything. And he's like, this is the most moral army. Like, they're just not allowed to enter this. Look at all this food. Right. And then I literally called it, dude. I said, when he gets back, because this is what people need to understand about these influencers. Most of them, the reason why they are where they are is not because they're being paid. I know everybody wants to think they're getting this $7,000 per post or whatever. No, there's a select few that are getting paid. The rest of them, payment is not always in the form of money. And these are the kind of people, dude, that all you have to do is guarantee them a position a position as a host, as an anchor, give him a press pass, invite him to the right parties, tell them they're going to get the right handshakes, tell them they're going to get a tour of their own, they're going to get this, they're going to get that. That's the kind of stuff that these kids, because they're literally children, are after. They're too stupid to ask for money or to even understand that they can, right? They're the literal definition of useful idiots. And Cam Higbee is one of the biggest ones, because I literally called it. I said, when he gets back, watch what happens. And sure enough, first he showed up on Fox News. Then he showed up at the White House, took pictures with Carolyn Leavitt and Trump. Then he was in that room when they had Nick Shirley and Cam and all those guys, and they were talking about the civil unrest. He was in that room. Now he's one of the press pool people. He's literally one of the press people, and he's been the one that has been on the ground. Dude, this is the guy that like cosplays with his freaking with his vest, dude. Like it's so crazy. But this kid literally propagandized his way into the press pool of the Pentagon. And so I have a really hard time believing. And by the way, I also challenged him to a debate, and he said yes. And then I think he watched my content and was like, oh crap, I can't debate this guy. And then he totally just ghosted me and he won't answer. But yeah, like I have a hard time believing anything that comes out of that guy's mouth, because everything is 100% just for self-grandization. It's for self-promotion. It's for propaganda. And so when he posts this signal chat with his signal, or with his handle, right? You saw that, right? His handle was purposely like massive across it, because nobody's going to take this and say that they found it. It's mine. I found it. I'm the boots on the ground, right? Because I know who Cam is. I know how he functions. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, that's exactly why I did that. These are the kind of people that hang their credentials on their wall to the White House parties, because they're so proud of being in those circles. But what they don't understand is they are being used as the useful idiots they are to spew nothing but propaganda and push pro-neocon warhawk, pro-war messaging, which is exactly what he's been doing. He was also the one that was touting all the crap about going into Venezuela and about Iran, right? He was at the front lines about, oh, we need to strike Iran. The kid doesn't understand anything. He's just being used as a propaganda horn. And so, yeah, dude, when I saw that signal chat, I was like, I'm not saying it's not real, but I'm saying, like, I don't know. It's weird to me. It's weird. I am everybody's favorite conspiracy theorist, but it's pretty weird to me that Nick Shirley was in that room with Cam Higbee when they were talking about all that stuff. And then all of a sudden, Nick Shirley is the one that's uncovering the Somali fraud in Minnesota. And then sure enough, a few weeks later, I think, or whatever it was, Cam Higbee's on the ground revealing this massive internal, like, military operation going on with protesters. And he's got all the information. I don't know, man. It's all fake and gay.
Well, it's funny you say that about Cam Higbee and how I promote people. You know, how I'm always giving shout outs. Well, when Cam first started breaking that, the Somali fraud, or we went to Ohio or somewhere else that Nick Shirley didn't go, and I made a couple of videos about him. And then all of a sudden I started getting cooked in the comments. People were like, Cam Higbee, bro, you're telling me to follow Cam Higbee? You're a Zionist. You're controlled opposition. I'm like, what the fuck is Cam Higbee, dude? I don't know who the fuck this kid is. I know, make another video later that day, and I was just like, yeah, fuck Cam Higbee. I don't know who he is, but anyways.
I actually saw it, and I tried to like save you from it. I sent you a message, but I don't think you saw it. But I was like, bro, no, don't do it. Don't do it. It's all good though. I mean, it is what it is. But my whole point is just, I don't doubt that there's something going on. As a matter of fact, I know something's going on.
Definitely something going on, dude.
Yeah, I have 100%. A couple buddies that are in ICE, and they've straight up said, like, dude, there's for sure something more going on here. This is not just normal protests. Like, and we all know they're being shipped in. I mean, I know people in Minnesota that are saying, dude, they're arriving by the bus loads. They're arriving in the airports. Like, it's not organic. There are definitely Minnesotans there that are unfortunately retards.
Idiots. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. But the majority of the organization itself is just like every other time that this has happened. It's Marxist organizations that are shipping people in. But here's the thing. Who's controlling the Marxist organizations? And at the end of the day, I don't think it's as simple as saying, oh, it's a Democrat thing. Like, this whole right versus left thing, I've been speaking on this a lot lately, because I'm just, And this has always been the case. It's two wings of the same bird, man. And it's, I think it's a coordinated effort. Honestly, it looks very similar to what we see in those other countries. When we go in and push regime change, this is how it happens. There's freaking Mossad operatives on the ground that are causing the civil unrest, that are pushing everybody to do what they're doing. They cause the chaos. They cause the revolution. They cause the destabilization. And then sure enough, right? So I don't know, man. I think it's one massive distraction and one big staged event by both sides. But
it's called our intelligence agencies, my friend.
Well,
it's the CIA, it's the USAID, it's the FBI, it's our intelligence agencies and these unelected bureaucrats who don't serve any master. You've seen how hard it is to even fire one government employee that you have dirt and they've been corrupt and they've been incompetent in their job, because we have some type of law where the government can't fire government employees for some reason. So there's this big, huge thing. And it's like they have a job forever. Like once you get in the government, if you just show up and punch the time clock and half-ass everything that you do, you'll probably be promoted inside our government. It's the people that actually do the job the way that it's supposed to be done are the ones that are demoted and fired. And then you end up with this cesspool of just crime, corruption, and chaos. No different than we've seen. I mean, we watched them rig the election in Guatemala. Like that is probably the most documented, most obvious. Our government went in, forced them to buy new voting machines a year before the election. They install all these new voting machines. The voting machines go down at 9 p.m. on election night during the count. They magically come back online at 8 a.m. And then some dude that nobody's ever heard of that was in last place magically won the primaries and then came back to win the election. And nobody even knows who this dude is or ever even heard of this dude. Now he's somehow president of the country. It doesn't, you can't make it make sense. And there's same day in-person paper ballots and they're uploaded electronically to a database. So it's like, it wasn't like I had to guess and I had to like subpoena or go get ballots. They were all uploaded to the cloud. So we're looking at these ballots and 92% of them were fraudulent. Like they have a team, their election crew or whatever. So like each city has basically a municipality. And in that municipality, you have 3 election officials. You have like the leader, the second in command, and the third in command, right? And as they flip each table has little slots in it. So you get a booklet with 5 pages on it. Page 1 is the president. Page 2 is the secretary. Page 3 is Congress. Page 4 is the judges. Page 5, whatever. So each hole in the table is a slot, right? So as you fill out your book, you rip one, drop it in. And they have 3 election officials sitting at that table. So you're ripping your ballots, you're dropping them in the right hole. They're making sure. And then they go into a clear plastic bag that's under the table. So it's open. So you're seeing your ballot drop in this plastic bag. And at the end of the election, they lift up the table and they dump one bag out at a time. And all the election officials count it in front of everybody. And then they fill out this tally sheet. The tally sheet gets uploaded to the cloud, right? And then you take all of the tally sheets at the end and your people, like your Supreme Court or whatever, will go over and verify all the results. But you kind of know the results as they're coming in because they're getting uploaded in real time. Well, that all shut down at 9 p.m. when one person was in the lead, comes back in 12 hours later, and all of a sudden a new guy's won by a landslide and nothing to see here, right? Well, you review those documents. Each one of those election officials gets specific training, right? There's 14 things that have to be on your ballot or your pamphlet once you add your tally sheet, and it has to be stamped. Well, like 80% of them didn't have a stamp. And these 3 people, the 3 election officials go to specific training 2 weeks before the elections. They all go to this one big seminar and get trained and certified on how to fill out these tally sheets. Well, 92% of the tally sheets were filled out wrong. They were fraudulent. And then their Supreme Court who reviews this is supposed to certify the election and say, hey, and it's in their law, if more than 30% of ballots or 32% of ballots are fraudulent, they're supposed to redo the election. Well, they knew that within like a week of the election taking place, and they're not going to certify this guy. And then the whole country of Guatemala, because I was down there with their attorney general reporting on this, thought that when Trump got into office, right? Like the entire country of Guatemala was campaigning for Trump. Thinking that when Trump gets in, he's just going to remove the bad guys. He's cutting off USAID. It's going to be the end all of corruption in Guatemala. Well, then all of a sudden they sent in Rubio to be the head of, USAID. He was Rubio was the one who led when the election fraud first got exposed, Biden was still in office. Rubio was still a senator. Well, Rubio went and got a group of 12 other senators and congressmen to do a joint letter condemning the attorney general in Guatemala for wanting to investigate the election fraud. He said it was corrupt and that she should stand down and allow the peaceful transition of power. So Rubio takes over at USAID, and Guatemala was still like, yeah, Rubio's going to come in here and get him out. Here we are 2 years later, and no.
Dude, same thing with freaking Argentina and what's his face?
Really?
Yeah, melee. Like, dude, everybody, I remember seeing that video of him, afuera, afuera, afuera. And he's pulling all the freaking like useless spending off the board and everything, just like, Doge and Elon and everything. I remember thinking, damn, dude, this guy's awesome, right? Zionist, of course. Of course.
He threw himself a rock concert after he got a $50 billion bailout from America.
No, I saw it, dude. Oh my gosh. I saw it. Oh, so here's my question. Let's jump into the first topic, which is Iran. So I don't know how much you're aware of what's going on with Iran right now, but it's pretty heavy. So last time I predicted we were hitting Venezuela. I was one of the first people to say we were going to hit Venezuela. Nobody believed me. I had somebody that was on the inside that told me that, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to go with this, and they weren't wrong. This same person has now told me we are going to hit Iran, and it's beginning of this month. That's what they said, beginning of next month. So if you look at all the different things that are happening behind the scenes right now, like the freaking Abraham Lincoln. Is it called the Abraham Lincoln? I'm trying to remember what
the fleet that's headed there. The Armada.
Yeah. So they went completely dark. There's no outgoing or incoming comms. They went completely dark, shut down all communication. Usually when that happens, there's a reason why. There's all the ships moving towards there. Like there's definitely something happening and moving towards that. And it would make complete sense because Trump has also been talking in a very threatening tone where it's kind of like an ultimatum. And historically, when there are ultimatums given, the ultimatum itself is not actually to get the country to react the right way and make a good decision, make a favorable decision. It's usually to justify what comes next, right? It's usually like, hey, we are on record saying X, Y, and Z. You didn't listen. You didn't do what we asked you to do, and so we bombed you. And so I'm watching this, and I'm like, it sure seems like that's what's about to happen. And with everything that's happened with the protests with Iran, and I don't know how much you know about how involved Mossad was, but allegedly Mossad was on the ground the entire time, of course, creating the civil unrest and pushing all of the chaos. But I heard something else that was pretty crazy, and I heard this from 3 different places. 2 of them are not super credible. One of them is pretty credible, and that was that. Do you remember when they were talking about how they were going to hang 800 people in Iran? Do you remember that?
Those are the Mossad agents, I heard, right?
Okay, so I heard the same thing. I heard that Denmark, when we were going after Greenland, Denmark doxed the Mossad agents. And then that's why we pulled back, because I also heard that was when we were actually going to strike Iran. But I heard that Bibi was like, nope, don't do it. Pull back, right? Mm-hmm. And so now the way I look at it is, okay, Denmark is basically out of the picture now because of what's happened with them. And then apparently Trump is just buying Greenland now. We're not going to go take it. We're going to buy it from him. So the purchase of Greenland's happening. Denmark doesn't really have any feet to, stand on. And so now there's nothing stopping us. And on top of that, the reason why, this is just what I would imagine. I'm not an expert in this or anything, but the reason why we didn't attack Iran before is obviously because of how much that will affect the US dollar because of the oil, right? Well, now we have the largest oil reserves in the world with Venezuela, and nothing's holding us back there either. So to me, it's like, it makes complete sense that we're about to strike them. My question to you is, why do you think it's going to happen now?
I think it has to happen now, right? I think over the next 2 to 4 years, as civilization evolves and all these other countries are coming up out of poverty, and people like ourselves, investigative journalists, are willing to go over there and show Iran. As an American citizen, I can't get into Iran without a passport. I've been working on trying to get citizenship in another country so that way I can actually go into Iran from said other country. But if I go into Iran, I have to have an Iranian escort. So there's specific tour guides because they don't want Americans. They don't want us infiltrating their civilization in reporting on whatever it is, using the mainstream media to report on anything that makes Iran look bad. You go in there, and my buddies were showing me signs that it's got like CNN, it's like fake news. So it's kind of showing all the American propaganda. And they have the ability to thrive, right? You know, Iran is a massive, massive country. It could easily turn into Dubai. It could easily turn into a thriving Muslim country. And it's right next to Israel. So they don't want that. They know that Israel can't take over the Middle East, and the greater Israel will never exist if Iran becomes as powerful as Russia or China. I mean, it's really that simple. So you either take them out now while you have a little bit of support, because it seems like the support for Israel is 1 or 2 generations away from being extinct. I don't think being pro-Israel, you'll be able to get a seat in politics, specifically if we fix our elections, right? So that's kind of a downside, is like these elections being rigged benefit Israel the most. If you really look at it, our elections being rigged benefit Israel the most, because they play both sides. They don't care if it's Democrat or Republican. They're still getting paid hand over fist. So the only way to prevent that or to allow Israel to take Iran would be I take it now. We already took everything else. Trump's already the bad guy. I mean, he's already went us into war with Venezuela and was a hero. I think he thinks that he can go into Iran. I think that's kind of how our intelligence agencies played it. They wanted the operation to go off as flawlessly as possible in Venezuela, so that you could kind of try to stroke Trump's ego and convince him that the Iran takeover is going to be just as easy as the Venezuela takeover. You just come in at night, you take out their leaders, you replace them with some new leaders, and you say, hey, if you guys don't do our bidding and do what we tell you, we're going to, Maduro you. And they say, okay, because they don't have any choice and they have no way to prevent or, basically stand against the attacks from our advanced military that we have. I hope that when we do attack, I hope their first response is to completely level Israel, all of it, the entire country, turn it to glass, bring it all to the ground in one hailstorm of brimstone and fire with every bomb, everything that you got. The greatest gift you could live. You're going to lose the war anyways, and the U.S. is going to get in. You might as well unload everything and just take out Israel. It would be the greatest gift that you could give humanity, in my personal opinion. Sorry if anybody doesn't like me to saying that, but that is my honest to God's truthful opinion, that you will never see peace in the world. You'll never get world peace until Israel is removed from power. Until Israel is denuclearized. They don't need weapons. They don't need nukes. They don't need bombs. If they weren't blowing up everybody around them, nobody would want to attack them. But instead, every one of their neighbors knows that they're part of the greater Israel project. So you have a neighbor that that wants to colonize you. You watch it happen in Gaza. You're watching it happen in Lebanon. I mean, if you're Iran, it's all or nothing. So my opinion.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. I think I'm a little different as far as that goes, just because at the end of the day, I'm like, I mean, look, I understand how much of a problem and a threat Israel is, but at the end of the day, I do think that it's the whole idea of, I don't ever condemn an entire people for the sins of a few or even most. Because I do believe that there's innocent good people. It'd be the same as like, if Russia were to decide, or whoever, the American government, I'm tired of dealing with this shit, and we're just going to turn America into glass. It's like, that sucks, because so many of us are like, we don't love our government, we hate them, right? Like, leave us alone, kind of thing. But
we deserve it.
Yeah, I understand. I get the perspective though, and so here's the thing though. I have another perspective to share that I'm curious what you think about. Before I do that, guys, please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube. Make sure you support Ryan every way you can. Ryan, what are your handles again, dude?
At Ryan Matta over on X, Shots by Matta on Instagram. It's different on if you just search Ryan Matta, you'll most likely find me. Be careful for the fake accounts, but I've been deplatformed so many times that I have different usernames on literally every platform. So your Shots by Matta on IG, and then I know you're Ryan Matta. Just Ryan Matta on X. So X gave us the ability to get the new handles. They did that with your username. So I was able to actually get my full name for some reason. Yep, I threw it in the chat. So hear me out, okay? Iran is also a key player when it comes to BRICS, right? Like this whole push for BRICS, I think Iran is a major player for that. And the way I see it is, there's a lot of things happening, but I think the way that I would see Trump seeing this anyway is, let's just point out the obvious. It's freaking election season, okay? It's the same time when this crap happens every single time. And I think that the Trump administration understands and realizes that, especially with what just happened in Minnesota, like, they need a win, or the Republicans are for sure going to lose the primaries. Like, they're going to get swept. And I think that they know that. And I think this is one of those things where it's like, we need a win. And the way that Trump is looking at this is, if we can take Iran and if we can take complete control over that, we can effectively
put a major halt to BRICS. You probably know more about this than I do, but I would just assume that that's kind of part of the thought process, and basically, not save the U.S. dollar, because I think the U.S. dollar is in danger in a lot of different ways, but at least put us in a better position economically of being able to take over that country. But the other thing that I see is this. I don't know how much people are paying attention to the whole Somaliland thing, but Israel's building an airbase in Somaliland. Like, this is 100% confirmed. They're building an airbase there, which gives them perfect striking distance to not Lebanon. Which one am I talking about? I'm a brain fart.
Lebanon? Syria?
No. Which
Iraq,
one's right
Afghanistan?
across? No, is this Syria?
Lebanon. I don't know.
It's not Lebanon. They're bombing Lebanon. Yemen. Thank you. Yemen. Because Yemen so far has stood up to Israel. Like, they've been able to stand up to them. But if there's an airbase right across from Yemen, they're in perfect striking distance. And then, by the way, we just gave them $8.6 billion, I think, in for fighter jet, or $1 million for fighter jets. So hear me out and tell me what you think about this. Maybe I'm just crazy, but the way I look at this is you have the United States taking over Greenland. You have the United States poised to take over Iran with the help of Israel in behalf of Israel. You have Israel steamrolling across the Middle East as always. Now they're putting themselves in position to take out the strongest countries in the Middle East and actually continue to complete this Greater Israel project. By us taking Venezuela and taking Greenland, it kind of leaves a precedent. At this point, it's like, I don't know why China hasn't tried to take Taiwan yet, or Russia just completely steamroll into Ukraine, right? But Putin's already talked about, he's already given them like an ultimatum and said, hey, we're going to do this, right? Then you have the fact that I believe we are for sure going to go into Mexico, Colombia, and Cuba next. I think that's coming. So what if, okay, because what you just said about how Israel and the support of Israel over the next like 2 generations, they're not going to last, right? Like, most people are waking up to the fact that Israel is very much not our greatest ally, and they're the biggest problem that we have, and the leech that we can't seem to shake, no matter what party, no matter what affiliation, no matter what. Not to mention they're a genocidal, evil regime. So I think most people are waking up to that, especially younger generations. That's why they killed Charlie Kirk. But anyway, the thing I'm thinking is, okay, what if the whole plan the entire time has been for Israel to force their way into being our greatest ally? So, for example, if everything plays out the way that I just said, okay, and it actually sets up basically a 2-front war, which is literally East versus West, okay? Well, if that ended up happening, we South America, Central America, et cetera, all that's us. Then we have Greenland. Israel has the Middle East. We would be idiots to not want a nuclear power on our side in the East, right? If that were to actually come to a head like that, and effectively they would become our greatest ally. And it would make sense why the censorship crackdown. It would make sense because now all of the people like us who are speaking out about the fact that we don't want, like, Israel's not our greatest ally, we would literally be painted as traitors. Because if we're in a world war and Israel is legitimately the only nuclear power we have in that area, in that side of the world to defend us, well, then who can possibly speak out against that? It would actually be a super smart move by Israel. They would force their way into being, quote unquote, our greatest ally.
Why?
Because we would need them on that side of the world. If this is how it played out, if it was Russia, China, North Korea, et cetera, versus us, versus the West, right? But Middle East was taken, Central America, South America, all those were taken. It would leave us.
Why do we need, if we have all this on this side, why do we need anything in the Middle East?
I'm just thinking location wise, right? Would we not want them to be in the East or no? I don't know. I'm asking. I'm not an expert in this at all. I'm just.
That would be like China wanting to take Cuba, or else wanting to have El Salvador, basically. Like, what benefit would El Salvador give China on this side of the world outside of having some nukes there, but you don't need them? Like before, you needed nukes close because you didn't have the range. Now China
I'm just
has
thinking proximity, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, China has. I mean, they've put out that I forget what their leader was. I forget what branch of the government he's from, but he's like basically like, if we're not going to be the ones to start war, but we're definitely going to be the ones to finish the war.
We'll finish
we have hypersonic hydrogen basically bombs that can hit, in 7 minutes, hit every city in America, basically anywhere in the world. These rockets can be within 7 minutes, and there's no defense system in America that can stop them. So if you want to play this game, okay, let's play. China will finish it in one day. I mean, there's a billion of them, 300,000, 300 million of us. And then you look at it from a standpoint of like, if we got attacked right now from China, from Russia, from Iran, would I be pissed? I mean, I'd be upset that like but I would look and I go, we deserve it. If they put a hypersonic right through the White House right now, I would not be sending my children off to die in any war. I'd probably be sending them a thank you card. You know what I'm saying? It's like, so I don't get, I mean, you can't get in order to go to war previously, you needed bodies, right? You needed cannon fodder, and you needed the hearts and minds of the masses to be willing to say like, hey, this is a just cause. Like you remember on 9/11, I don't know how old you are, but on 9/11, I had buddies that were old enough to put boots on and go to war. And I remember in high school, like I was like, at 18, am I going to get drafted? Right? Am I going to be going off to war?
That's why so many dudes went to war. I mean, that's why so many dudes signed up. That I remember that.
I almost sent them 3 times.
Yeah, it was, dude. It was a manufactured creation of patriotism. Like overnight. And I remember everybody was like, we got to go to war.
I remember thinking when I was 18 to 25, and then even when I was 25 and I had my son, I remember thinking like, what an honor it would be if my son joined the service. I remember thinking to myself, like, there's nothing more honorable than going and serving in your military. Yeah. And now I wouldn't disown my son, but I wouldn't even be disappointed because it's an honorable thing to do. And if that's what you choose to do, but for this government, no fucking way. And I want to show this because Truth Teller just broke this story. So this just came out an hour ago. Oh shoot, hold on.
Are you able to share your screen?
Unplug my headphone. So if you guys
I've always said that if we did go to war, zero chance I'm going to war. But if it came to our shores, I'd be the first in line.
Fair enough. Like,
I'll defend my people, but I'm definitely not going to fill the bankers' pocketbooks and freaking fight for a bunch of Zionists.
No, I'll move my family out. But check this out. So Iran, China, and Russia just signed a trilateral strategy pact. So we got Russia and China now. China's also sending over their military to the Middle East right now. So Truth Teller, if you guys don't know who he goes by, Truth Teller at FTM over on X. He's probably one of my most favorite accounts. Show me a time that this man has ever got community noted. Nobody can ever show us one because it never happened. So he says China has deployed multiple type 055 and 052D destroyers from the Chinese naval base in Hainan, and they are moving towards Iranian-controlled waters. Let Trump and his chosen goons fuck around and find out. The Type 005 isn't the only Chinese destroyer Americans fear. Newly inducted Type 052D warships key to facilitating primary at-sea assets. He says the Type 052D is among the most heavily armed in the world, with 88 launch cells, 64 of which are capable of deploying a variety of air defense, anti-ship, and anti-submarine ammunitions. He says the remaining 24 cells are reserved exclusively for HHQ-10 surface-to-air missiles, fielded to complement the capabilities of the HQ-16, HHQ-9, and DK-10A surface-to-air missiles into other cells, with alongside the HPJ-12 chosen weapon system providing a highly sophisticated multi-layered air defense system, making the warships among the most survivable in the world against air and missile attacks. The Type 5052D makes use of highly modern systems, including the HLJG 346A Dragon Eye, which is an AESA radar, the YJ-18 anti-ship cruise missiles, striking at 3 times the speed of sound with 300-kilogram warheads, and CY-5 solid-fueled anti-submarine rockets. So it looks like China is seeing the writing on the wall. I mean, if you're China, would you rather have the United States as an ally or Iran? At this point, I think it's Iran. At this point, I think it's anybody but the United States. The United States only wants one thing. They want to come in. They want to subvert your country. They want to overthrow your government, and they want to install a puppet regime that will do the bidding of the United States at the expense of your own citizens in your country. Show me one of the last 100 countries that the United States government has went into and overthrown their government, installed some new dictator, and the citizens have thrived. It wasn't El Salvador. Don't give me that shit. It wasn't us that went in there and helped Bukele get elected. I think it was China, personally. You look at what China's doing in El Salvador, you look at what China's doing around the world. This is what people don't realize about America. We're no longer the world's ally. We're no longer the star in the world's eyes. You go into Ethiopia, and China, which was the third poorest country in the world. I've been to Madagascar, which was the seventh poorest in the world, and I saw living conditions that I didn't know existed on this planet. The worst inhumane living conditions you could ever imagine. Children living in a garbage dump that floods, and when it floods, all of the garbage, all of the feces, all of the shit and everything floods into your house, and the kids are sleeping on the floor under the bed. So then instead of having 4 kids sleeping on a dirt floor under a bed and the parents sleeping on the bed above it, and then other children sleeping on the bunk bed above them, you'll have 7 children and 2 parents in one bed. And those are the living conditions. The people in Madagascar make less than $2.50 a day. 3.8 million people who live in a capital of 4.2 million make less than $2.50 a day. China went into Ethiopia and they built an international airport, the world's largest airport in Africa, and they employed 25,000 citizens. So they took 25,000 citizens in the poorest country in the world and instantly propelled them into the middle class. I went into Tanzania, and they're building Walmarts, like their version. It's like a Chinese Sam's Club, if you will, all over the country of Africa. And then you walk into that store and you go, oh, what are all the products in that store? Oh, they're all manufactured in China. So China's taking their capital and resources. They're going over to third world countries. They're bringing them up out of poverty so that those third world countries start consuming all the cheap shit that the United States did. When Trump was in office in 2016, the United States consumed, I think it was 86% of all products manufactured in China. We were their consumption. So we dictated the rules. If we cut you off and we started buying from some other country, I mean, we would have destroyed and crushed China. Their economy would have collapsed overnight. Today, less than 12%. So we only purchase 12% of shit that's manufactured in China. So this time when Trump tried to do his tariff wars and thought he was going to be the tough guy, and China's go, 100% tariff on us, 100% tariff on you. And they just matched us all the way up to, what was it, like 300% tariffs before Trump caved and was like, this is a horrible idea. So China's went around the world to every country that we've overthrown, which is 100, and they've made investments and they've helped bring them up out of poverty. I went into Madagascar and it was roads. But where the United States goes, oh, you want road system? Here's $10 million. Here's $50 million. Just go ahead. That money goes all into a politician's pocketbook. They get their voting rights, which is their voting power in the UN, so that they'll vote pro-Israel, which is all we really want. We're willing to give as many of our tax dollars to any country in the world to buy off any politicians for one reason only, so that when the UN has a vote, they vote pro-Israel. So we've spent, what is it, like $30 trillion over the last 50 years giving our tax dollars. It's me and you working 2 jobs. We can barely keep a roof over our kid's head. We can't afford to go out to eat every night. We can't even afford to take a vacation. We can't afford to take a day off work. And yet we're being taxed 50 to 70% of every penny we make. If you are a 9-to-5 employee, you give this government 50 to 70%. They go, Ryan, well, I only pay 25% in income tax or federal taxes. They only take 30% out of my paycheck. Yeah. And then you fill up, every time you fill up your gas tank, you know, the gas is $3. $2 of that is a gas tax. And then 6 cents on top of that is also a sales tax. So it's like when the government prints money and the dollar gets devalued, they are rewarded handsomely, because your gas that was $1 and they only made 6 cents a gallon because you're only getting 6% sales tax. When that goes to $3, the government's making 18 cents per gallon. And think about that over a long period of time. It's like the worse our government behaves fiscally, the more they're rewarded. And the government employees don't care because their wages are actually based off of their inflation. So even the government employees are getting robbed because they tell you it's 3% inflation when really it's actually 6 or 8. But you know how they calculate inflation. You know, one week it's a fillet steak, and then the next week, fillets are expensive, so now it's ground.
It's Thanksgiving dinner.
Yeah, Thanksgiving dinner, you get 6 items instead of 20, and it's cheaper this year, Trump said. So it's all bullshit. And I hope that China gets involved, and I hope they're supplying Iran with enough weapons so that when shit goes down, they unleash all hell.
What was that account? I'm going to share it really quick so everybody can find that.
That's Truth Teller FTM over on X.
FTN as in Nancy,
FTM as in Mary.
Truth Teller FTM.
Let me see if I can just throw it. It's Truth_Teller.
Oh shoot. Okay.
Let me just throw it right over here in your live chat.
Truth
Teller FTM. Oh no, it is. It's Truth Teller FTM. I got it right.
That's all it is. Okay. Yeah. FTM. Truth Teller FTM.
He's an anonymous account. And he's absolutely my number one favorite. I've never met anybody like him. The kid has a photographic memory. I was listening to a debate with him one time, and he was debating this Marxist, And he did his opening statement, and the Marxist did his opening statement. He's like, oh yeah, truth teller might name some names like Chernovich, Hitler, blah blah blah. And he named off like 5 or 10 names. And then truth teller comes back. He's like, oh yeah, I could name drop if you want. And off the top of his head, like recites like 50 generals, their names, their ranks, their everything from World War II. Like bop, 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 right off the top of his head. I'm just like, who does that? Who has a memory that can memorize lieutenants' rankings and soldiers from World War II off the top of their head? And like this.
That's crazy.
Insane, dude.
That's crazy, dude. Well, I mean, it definitely tracks. All that tracks. It's
well, Polymarket has the odds right here. You know, that's probably one of the most accurate ways to determine if something is
actually that accurate.
I every time I do a report on Polymarket and I look at their polls, they're freaking accurate, man. I mean, so it's saying right now by January 29th, 1%. So by today, obviously 1%, pretty damn accurate, right? By the 30th, there's a 5%, 31st, 10%. And then when you get to February 13th is when it really starts jumping up to 34%, which correlates with what you were saying, the middle of February, right? Then
I said beginning of February.
Oh, okay, beginning of February is 22%. Middle of February is 34%. And everybody's saying it's going to come after the Super Bowl, right?
Well, so here's the thing. If the strike is okay, so if that's based on when the public will know, that could be completely accurate, because at the end of the day, I've heard that it's going to happen at the beginning of February, but that doesn't mean that we will find out that it happened then. We may find out, you know, a few days after. Who knows? But
when is the Super Bowl?
It's this Sunday.
It's this Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
yep.
So this Sunday would be what, the 2nd, or it's February 8th? It's next Sunday. It's next Sunday. It's February 8th. I don't think they strike before the Super Bowl.
Wait, no, it's not. It's this Sunday.
I'm looking at Super Bowl right here. Seahawks versus New England Patriots on Google. It says Sunday, February 8th.
Oh, you're right. Because it's because they have the stupid Pro Bowl. That's right. You're right. You are correct.
So February 8th.
I don't know, man. I think it's
And how does this work? How does this work on Polymarkets? If you let's just say I say June 30th, right, which is 66% June 30th. Now let's say they strike on February 6th. Since it's strike by, do I still win if I pick June since it was by then?
I don't know. I've never used it.
Price is right. Yeah, me neither.
I don't know.
I was talking to my friend today. I was like, I want to try out Polymarket. I've never tried it, but this is one of the ones where I just want to see how it works. So I want to try it. And I think that if you were a better, what are you taking?
If I was a better?
Yeah. Which one of these days?
I bet next week. I bet
next week.
Monday,
That's the
Tuesday.
highest payoff next week.
Monday, Tuesday next week.
So if I did February 6th, would be 22%. That's $1. Yeah, I think that's, what is that? $1.80 you win for every dollar you bet at 22% or 78%, $78.
Yeah,
that's how that works.
That's what I would bet. I'd put my money on Monday and Tuesday.
All right, bro. Look, it is.
We'll see.
This is not investing advice.
Everybody's going to think we're like promoting Polymarket right now. I literally have never used it. Isn't Polymarket the same as that other one, Kalshi, that's going around where you can like bet on assassinations and all kinds of shit like that?
Yeah, I think so. Can you really?
Dude, I mean, you can bet on anything. This is the craziest thing about Kalshi is you can make a bet. So like you personally could go in there right now and create a bet for, do we think China is going to freaking bomb Israel? Do we think China is going to join Iran? Like you can make a bet and then people bet on it.
Oh, you can make your own market.
Yeah, dude. It's like the wild, wild west. It's insane. Now think about how dangerous that is. Okay. Think about when the right or when the wrong people get a hold of that and they are financially tied to a certain outcome. It's going to get bad, dude. Polymarket and Kalshi, I don't know if Polymarket's the same way, but Kalshi's going to be.
Polymarket's not. I can't create a market on Polymarket.
And dude, Kalshi's running freaking ads on commercials and ads on TV. Like I see Kalshi come up when I'm watching when I'm streaming movies or TV shows. It's crazy, dude. And you can bet on anything. I mean, if you go in there right now, you can see, you'll just scroll. You scroll for page after page after page of all these. It's anything and everything that you can bet on. It's crazy.
That's freaking insane, dude.
it's crazy. Like you could put a bet out there of, you know, is TPUSA actually going to sue Candace, which we're going to get into that in a minute. But like you could literally create that bet and then people will bet on it.
Damn, that's wild.
Just
that is wild.
Now, yeah, and especially if you're smart enough to consider what can come from the future with that, and what happens when somebody, you know, places a bet on a certain outcome and they want to guarantee that they're going to win a sizable amount of money if they win, if that thing comes true.
Yeah, they do that already. Every single politician in Washington, D.C. does that already.
It's at least the freaking Running Man.
At least now we have the opportunity to take a part of it, right? Like I was talking to my friend earlier. I'm like, dude, like I sit here and I watch politics all day. Like I'm in the trenches, and so much of this is predictable. And I thought to myself, why am I not taking advantage of that? Why am I not taking advantage of this? That's all I could think to myself. I said, okay, it's like not like I'm going to bet my house, but you know, take 1%. If your net worth is 100,000, take $1,000 out of your savings account, and I'm going to play around with it. What the fuck? It's $1,000. If I lose it, who cares? If I win, well, cool. I'll keep having some fun. But I feel like we're just sitting here and our politicians are doing it. Everybody else is doing it. Everybody else is getting filthy rich off the collapse of America. And if you're going to stand by and you're just going to watch this all happen, you can't do anything about it. You might as well at least make sure you make some money on it. Yeah, how else would you look at it? I mean,
it's freaking wild, man. I mean, every time I turn around, I'm just like, it's gotten to the point where there's so much happening all at the same time. I mean, I've definitely gotten to the point where I feel like fatigue as far as content creation, as far as like actually covering topics and things. And you followed me long enough to know that I don't cover everything. Like I cover the things that I think are actually really important in the moment. And I try my best to stay, you know, as in the middle as I can. But at the end of the day, like there's been so many times over the last few months that I'm just like, I don't even want to talk about this anymore. Like and honestly, that's coordinated. That's what they want. They want people like me who are willing to speak out, to just feel like, why? I'm so tired. There's so much. It's constant. It's just this constant bombardment of psyops and information overload and corruption, and it's how they want all of us to feel, but especially the people that are willing to speak out. And I know that. And so that's why I keep on going. But like, damn, dude, it's the freaking wild, wild west out there right now. It's crazy. I mean,
that's why I stopped going as hard as I was into the child trafficking stuff, because it takes such a toll on you when you're investigating child trafficking and you finally figure out how the networks are operating. You figure out who's operating, you figure out who's funding them, where the children are going.
Really not a whole lot you can do about it.
And you expose it, and then your government continues to fund the apparatus, the linchpin to it. It's just like, wait, I go out and I risk my life getting smuggled across borders by Mexican cartels. I mean, we literally got smuggled across the Mexico-Guatemala border by Mexican cartels on water rafts in the middle of the day, so I could go over and expose that OMI and all these NGOs that USAID was supposed to be funding, that were supposed to be getting shut down because Trump cut off USAID, they're all operational. And people have no clue what's actually taking place, right? Like right in Mexico right now, all of the migrants that Kristi Noem told you she was deporting, they're not getting deported. Mexico hasn't deported a single one of them. Mexico is actually giving them temporary work permits and citizenship so that they can work and stay there. And they're all planning on Trump not being here in 4 years. They're all planning on our border being wide open. Mayorkas.
And Ryan, who's the leader in Mexico again?
Oh yeah.
Claudia Sheinbaum.
Sheinbaum, right? It's not all of them, but it's always them, right? That's probably the best thing I've ever heard.
It's not all of them, but it's always them.
Yeah, speaking of always them, Mayorkas ran over and spent, what was it, $300 million building these migrant processing facilities all throughout the jungle, throughout Panama, all the way from Ecuador, Honduras. All of this network, we have facilities, migrant processing facilities in the middle of jungles, right on the edge of the Darien Gap. You know, probably 5,000 to 10,000 person facilities that are still operational. And they might only be seeing 10, 20, 50 migrants a day, but they're still operational. They're still passing out their R-word kits, right? You know, where the little girls are coming through the jungle and they give them a condom and some Plan B and some lube, just in case they meet somebody that's going to R them. They have to be prepared, right? And a majority of the women that were making that journey were willing to make it. I mean, Oscar was telling me stories about mothers allowing the cartels to have their way with their daughters.
Just so that they can make it. Yep.
So they could make it.
Yep. And that's the thing. I know that you're telling the truth because I know guys that are involved in that. The very first guest that I had on my podcast is a good friend of mine, and he's been involved in the biggest anti-child trafficking operations in the world, 12 plus countries. He was involved in many of the operations that came out in that movie, The Sound of Music, or The Sound of Freedom. Yeah, man, it's real. It's 100% real, which is why I don't have a hard time believing even some of the more, the deeper conspiracies with like Pizzagate, things like that. Like, it's not hard for me to believe it because I know how real it already is. And so for these other things to be true, you don't have to go very far. Like, it's not, I think people think that when you consider something like Pizzagate, right? They think, oh my gosh, you have to go so far outside of the realm of possibility to consider that Pizzagate is real. And it's like, no, you don't. Child trafficking is already happening on an absolutely mass scale. It already is. Part of the child trafficking is already satanic rituals. That's already part of it. Like, that is not a lie. They legitimately sacrifice kids to Moloch because they believe they're getting power from it. That's 100% the truth. The whole idea of adrenochrome is real.
But I don't think that they think they're getting power from it. I 100% think that they are getting power from it. I think that they have the ability to harness some dark energy that we can't really wrap our minds around. We can't really comprehend. Yes. But they're not just sacrificing a child and going, oh, I hope I get something out of this outside of the satanic.
They are getting power. They are, for sure. I guess when I said that, what I meant was I was meaning more like
physical power, like actual power from whatever.
Yes, but they are absolutely getting a dark power, and it's very real. I mean, the bloodletting, the adrenochrome, all that stuff is very real. So basically, to go from what's already very real into this whole realm of conspiracies, all you have to do is just include the fact that the people doing it are politicians. Like that's it. That's all you have to do is consider the fact that it's not some random dude in the jungle, and it's not some like random cult in another country. It's literally just our politicians. And so for me, it's like, what makes anybody think that just because these people wear suits and ties that they're not evil? It has happened since the beginning of time. The only difference between the evil now and the evil back then is they're not wearing gold and, leather and all the crap that they wore in the older day. Like, they're suits and ties. It's just a new version of absolute pure evil, but that's what these people are. And it's crazy to me that kind of theory is even thrown out ever, because it's like, it's very, very real. I've seen it. I know I know that much of that is very real. I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen a lot of it. I've definitely seen enough to consider like, okay, this is very real. And it's, yeah, man, I just
think about this. Yeah. The pedophilia, right, is the only remaining type of blackmail that is so powerful that you would swallow a bullet before you let your family find out about it, right? So when you talk about like Ian did a really good job in that documentary you brought up and mentioned earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Is explaining how Hoover maintained his power inside the FBI and was director for 50 years, no matter
because
what.
Of Roy Cohn.
Right? Yeah. So, I mean, when you talk about back then in the 20s, right? If anybody found out that you were gay, it was enough to ostracize you out of politics. So what Hoover did was he built the Blue Oyster, which was this giant club that he basically threw these raves and parties at. A bunch of politicians and famous celebrities to come. There was drugs, there was transgenders, there was everything. And then Hoover had every room in the entire place wired. So you think you're a politician, you're out there having a party, nobody's paying attention, you're off in the back room getting sucked off by some dude. We'll come to find out Hoover's using it. And if you ever stepped out of line or you ever needed it, all of a sudden he came in with this black book and was like, hey, you might want to rethink your stance on that.
And that was the birth of so much of what we're seeing now.
And that's how he went in and got in with Hollywood and realized that, wow, movies and cinema are the best PR tool and propaganda tool, which is this is how Israel and their blackmail operations were basically courted, because they realized that how much power you could acquire by blackmailing the person in charge. You could remain completely on the outside, hands off, blackmail this person. As long as you had the dirt, you had a kill switch on them, you were good to go. Well, fast forward now, because you've seen the politicians get into office, and why did the LGBTQ stuff get crammed down our face? Why did the gay stuff get crammed down our face? Because it was blackmail over the politician's head. So if you're a politician, you're gay, number one, you're highly incentivized to normalize that, because you don't want the intel or dirt to ever get leaked out for people to find out that you're gay. Think about Lindsey Graham 20, 30 years ago. That could have ended his career. but instead they keep it under wraps. So then we transition from, 80s, 90s to where being gay wasn't enough to get you out of politics. So then what's the last thing that they really had left was pedophilia. And then you take a look at our politicians like Ilhan Omar, right? Nobody can tell me that she wasn't working for our intelligence agencies. We went over into Syria. We overthrew Syria, or Somali. Went over to Somalia. We overthrew Somali. You don't think that Ilhan Omar happened to be working for our intelligence agencies? You don't think that she was an asset over there? You don't think that they brought her over here for a specific reason? You bet your ass they did. That's how she came over here with a negative 65,000 net worth. She's the most scrutinized member of our politics. Out of corrupt politicians, like, she gets more heat than even Nancy Pelosi, right? Like, the world dislikes her. So every government and every agency has investigated her, right? They found out that she was married to her brother. Files were opened into her. Investigations were done. And I don't know if you've seen the recent Benny Johnson video that he put out like 2 or 3 days ago.
I was actually just going to bring up Benny Johnson, because Benny Johnson is the modern day version of everything we're talking about, because Benny Johnson is also, dude, that guy, if people can't see that guy is literally just a freaking, I mean, every single talking point of the administration, that guy puts on blast, like at the highest level. And I don't know if you saw Milo Yiannopoulos straight up, dude, he did the, I think he was on Tim Pool's podcast or whatever. And he's like, he not only revealed that he was gay, he revealed that he worked for, what was it? What was the, I forget which part. Yeah, I forget which news. Anyway,
he worked for Newsmax a while ago when he got fired for plagiarism.
It was before that. He was like a gay commentator or something like that. But then Milo basically came out and said, "Listen, everybody knows that what Benny Johnson did with younger males at all the SAS events in the hotel lobbies." And
no, his wife was in the lobby crying.
Yeah, dude.
Benny was upstairs with the dude.
Yeah, and it's funny because Tim and his boys are like, "Dude, what are you doing? Like, aren't you afraid of getting sued?" And Milo's like, "No, because I know it's true. And there's zero chance they want to go to Discovery. Like, I have never been sued. It's not going to happen because I'm not stupid enough." And I look at that the exact same way, dude. Why is it that's what it was? It was BuzzFeed. Why is it that Benny is just an absolute propaganda hose? It's because he knows they have dirt on him. Why is it that Bongino left? I don't have anything to prove this at all. This is just my personal opinion, but I think he saw too much. I think he figured out too much. And I think they said, you're either going to stay here or you're going to leave and you're going to be everything we need you to be. And
I think he already was. He came from the CIA. He was Obama's CIA. And Obama was smoking crack and getting BJs by Larry Hoover in his, whatever that Larry dude's name was, and Larry St. Clair in the back of his limo. So like you don't think you're
doing more than that if we believe in Pizzagate.
And Bongino was his his Secret Service. It's like Clinton was getting on Epstein's plane how many times? Oh, and every time he was accompanied by who? Secret Service agents. Okay. Yeah. So please explain it to me like I'm five.
$65,000 worth of hot dogs to the White House at 2 a.m. or something like that.
Explain it to me like I'm five.
Yeah, exactly.
Please, you can't
explain it to me like I'm a 7-year-old that's coming to a pizza party. Anyway. No, dude, I definitely, I agree. And I think, that's why, again, I think every time we bring this up, it's like, and this is what they want the fatigue, but it really does come back to the Epstein files. And it's so funny to me that, like, why does it continue to get dropped? Why is it that all this chaos is happening? Why is it that it seems like every time we get close to getting them, all these distractions come out? And it's like, duh, because that is their bargaining chip. And you even had Maduro that was talking about it, dude. Maduro was talking about the Epstein files and how that's why we were taking him out. And dude, it's just...
Well, he put when Trump put a $50 million bounty on his head, Maduro went and put a $50 million bounty on the Epstein files and said, if anybody has the Epstein files, I'll give you $50 million for him right now. And then all of a sudden, months later, he's in custody.
All of a sudden, he's taken out of his house with his wife in the middle of the night and sonic weapons that nobody's ever heard of. It's like, we moved real quick on that one.
I think that's why, like we have that, zero gravity technology for your audience who still believes in gravity, and gravity is a thing. There's no such thing as gravity, right? It's Einstein's theory of relativity.
Eye to eye on that one, but
yeah, well, Einstein's theory of relativity, right, has never been proven. It's why it's his theory, right? So gravity, the most advanced AI computers in the world can't solve Einstein's mathematical problem because it's impossible. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing as gravity. Everything has a positive and a negative electrostatic charge. And when you have the ability to suspend your positive and negative and electric charge, you become buoyant, right? Like there's no force pulling you down. There's no force pulling you up, forward and backwards, right? So think about if you're, and they say they can do it with a specific type of paint, and then they charge that paint, and that allows the object to remain buoyant. My buddy who's done the Flat Earth documentary, built this machine, and it doesn't matter if it's a penny, it doesn't matter if it's a feather, it doesn't matter if it's a bottle cap. He can make it levitate and float in midair by properly charging the positive and electric charge, or whatever. So you think about this, and for people that are thinking this through, right? In order to solve a problem in reverse, you have to reverse engineer it. So you mean to tell me that we have anti-gravity devices? So if you have an anti-gravity device, you would have to figure out the math for gravity to reverse engineer it to have no gravity. So if we have zero gravity devices, well, then somebody must have figured out the math problem for gravity, right? No, am I wrong? You'd have to. So whistleblowers, if you remember the Tucker Carlson interview that he did with Redacted, this was the very first interview that he did after leaving Fox News. And him and Redacted used to work on Fox News together. And they were talking about how Clayton was always digging into aliens and, spacecrafts, and Tucker always thought he was crazy and a conspiracy theorist, and kind of just blew him off. And Clayton's like, no, bro, you got to check this out. And he's pulling things. And then Tucker goes something like this. He goes, there's one thing that was so crazy that I never even told my wife about. And I tell my wife everything. And Clayton looks at him. He's like, wait, so with spaceships or whatever? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, oh my gosh, me too. And Natalie looks over at him and is like, wait, what do you mean? You heard something so crazy you didn't even tell your wife? I'm right here. What is it? And he's like, I'll tell you later. No, we don't need to talk about it now. And they just brushed it off. And I was just like always wondering what that was. Well, when Trump got assassinated, or attempted assassination, in Butler, when it hit his ear, me and JJ were pulling into Redacted's driveway, to Clayton's driveway for his house to do an interview for our documentary. After that, we went out to dinner. And when we were out to dinner, I had a chance to ask Clayton. I said, hey, Clayton, just out of curiosity, what was that thing that was so crazy that you didn't even tell your wife about? And Natalie's like, oh yeah, what was that? And we happen to be talking about flat Earth already. So he's like, all right, since you're already into flat Earth, he's like, I'll tell you because it's going to sound crazy. We have whistleblowers that have caught in other countries in natural disasters, like the Maui fires we can use, right? There was 1,200 missing children. Nobody could figure out where the children went. Where were the parents? Where are the bodies? Where are these missing 1,200 kids?
To this day, by the way.
To this day, okay?
To this day.
So this is going to tee in perfectly, right? There is parts of like Area 51 that our president isn't even read in on. Not all presidents, some presidents. I believe, who was the last one? Was it Reagan, who threatened to go to Area 51 with the National Guard?
Yeah, I think it was Reagan.
Let's just pretend like it was Reagan. Okay, one of the presidents wasn't getting read in on everything. And he's like, well, if you're not going to read me in. Allegedly, when he went in there was a spacecraft that was basically levitating above his head. He thought it was a real F-150 jet. And the guy pressed the button and the spaceship turned off. It was just a hologram, right? That was when he first learned about blue beam technology that we had all the way back to the 60s or 70s. Okay. Our government has basically an elite military that has access to these zero gravity devices. Anytime that there's a natural disaster, a military force of guys dressed in all black military uniforms fly in on this craft, and they start rounding up these women and children and putting them into cages on this plane, and they think that they're going to be saved, right? And the cages are to prevent you from being hurt from the person that's not related to you, or, they don't want to put you in a big cage with a bunch of bad people. So our government allegedly flies into these places, abducts these children they have the cloaking technology. So the craft is basically invisible. And then they have the zero gravity technology. So they're able to go undetected by radar. They're able to move in and out of areas in a split second. And the logic behind this device is, so if you have a craft and you suspend all of the positive and electrical charges either way, right? Because we have these crafts that are filmed going 500 knots per second underwater. And you think if you're in a car and you're going 100 and you come to a stop instantly into a brick wall, you die, right? Because the car crumbles and the momentum of you flying forward, your body can't handle going from 100 to 0. Well, when you're in a craft and you suspend everything in the craft, you can go from 1,000 miles per hour to 0 like this, because there's no force, there's no friction. So that's how these crafts that our military has filmed are traveling at 500 knots per second underwater. And people go, Ryan, why is that crazy? Because if I shoot you underwater and I'm 12 feet away with a .357 Magnum, you can catch the bullet if it even hits you. These crafts our military has filmed, that we know that they've filmed, that they've openly had congressional hearings about, these crafts are moving at 500 knots per second underwater without propulsion systems. How is that possible? And that's why Tucker Carlson said it was spiritual, because it's technology that defy the laws of physics. Here we have this world that's built around physics, and physics is what contains everything that we do on a daily basis. They're defying what we know. They have technology that doesn't exist in our realm.
Yeah, and I to be clear, I 100% believe in that. I 100% believe that there's aliens. I believe in the alien craft. I'm even the person that, dude, I don't think not only do I think we never went to the moon, I think we tried to go and I think we were turned around. I think it was like, I think we saw something and figured something out. And it was like, not only are you going to turn around, but you're never going to come back. You're never going to talk about it. And no other country is going to try it ever again.
Well, it's the radiation belt.
I think, well, not only that, I think there's a chance that the moon really is a freaking international space station. I think that there's a lot of I've dug into that one's a fun one. If you've never dug into that one's fun. There's a lot of things, a lot of signs that point to the moon not being the moon and instead being an actual space station that is that's been operating for a very, very, very long time. But I'm also the type of person that's like, I 100% believe that kind of technology exists. By the way, it was Carter. I was looking that up. It was Jimmy Carter.
Yep.
So yeah, I know that that's real. I don't even know how we got talking about aliens. This is awesome, by the way. Great conversation. That's how you know it's a great conversation, when you're like, how the hell did we get talking about UFOs and aliens? Where'd that come from?
Yeah.
We were talking about gravity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I definitely think that the government hides far more from us than they ever tell us. I mean, that's not even a question. But I think even our own government a lot of the time doesn't know what the hell's going on. Like,
I think there's something so powerful that, like, you look at somebody like Mike Johnson, right? MAGA
yes.
Mike. Remember, we had to go through all the getting rid of McCarthy to get MAGA Mike in. And all of a sudden he's like the most pro, never voted against Trump, like had the best America First record. And then the first thing he does is he walks into a skiff with Paul Ryan. And then he walks out and he goes to the speaker podium and tells us that the first thing as speaker is to send money to Israel. That's his number one priority. And you go, what in the hell just happened? So in my personal opinion, I think
that though. They all did it. It wasn't just Johnson, dude. It was all of them. All of them just all of a sudden went from America first, we're going to clean out the house. Like all of that to just kidding. Actually, we're going to give all of our money to Israel and we're going to constantly talk about Israel and we're going to support Israel at all costs. And like, dude, yeah.
Have you seen the Power of the Purse video?
No. What is that?
Let me see if I still have.
While you're doing that, I'm going to bring something up that I think a lot of people missed. And I don't know the exact dates. I always forget the exact dates. There was a point in time when I did know them, but you guys can look it up and fact check me if you want. I've already done this. I know that it's true.
Oh, I got it.
But think about this for a second, okay? So, it's interesting because one of my buddies told me this was happening when it happened, and I kind of just was like, nah, I don't think so. But think back to when it really started to like turn, where the tides really started to turn on Biden, and it started to become more like pro-Trump right before the election, right? Do you remember that? It was very like apparent. It was like all of a sudden now everybody's anti-Biden. Biden is like complete decline. It was a very abrupt like stop in the Biden run, in the Biden administration, right? And then all of a sudden in comes Kamala, right? And it was like overnight. And then all of a sudden, I think it was like maybe like a week or 2 weeks ago, or a week or 2 weeks later, freaking what's his face came up. The hell's his name?
Johnson? McCarthy?
No. Who's
Tim Walz.
Yeah, Tim Walz. Sorry, Walz. Which was an obvious blunder. Like, you'd have to be an idiot to think that anybody actually thought that guy was going to win or help at all. Same thing with Kamala. It was a very calculated move, in my opinion, to put Kamala there purposely to lose. So the reason why I bring this up is because before all that happened, who did Biden have a meeting with that he refused?
Israel? Netanyahu?
You can look this up. It's 100% the truth. He was supposed to meet with Netanyahu, and he refused the meeting. Guess who took the meeting a week later?
Kamala?
No.
Trump?
Trump took the meeting a week later, and that's when everything started to cascade towards the right wing. That's when Target stopped the Pride stuff. That's when Walmart stopped all of it. That's when it seemed like it literally went from Democrat to Republican like this. Boom. Because it was not just like, think about it. It wasn't just a subtle switch. You even had the mainstream media start talking about start slamming on Kamala and slamming on Walz. That's when all the stuff about Walz came out about the stolen valor and all this other crazy stuff, right? It just happened like that. It was after the meeting with Trump and Bibi Netanyahu. Look it up. I swear. I've looked this timeline up a bunch of times because the person that told me it at the time I thought was crazy. I was like, nah, Trump's just going to win by land. Like, people are just sick and tired of the Democrats, blah, 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 blah. He's like, dude, I'm telling you. He said, Trump's going to win by landslide, but it is not because he's winning by landslide. It's because he took that meeting. And I was like, nah. And then sure enough, dude, when all the pro-Israel stuff started happening, I literally called this friend of mine and I was like, holy shit. You were not kidding. And he's like, I told you, man. And he's like, and he told me back then, he said, watch what happens over the next year. He said, every single thing that Israel wants to accomplish, they're going to do. The Trump administration is going to become a puppet of Israel. And I said, oh, I really hope you're wrong. Sure enough, here we are. He's probably watching this right now. And he was right. 100% right. You can look it up, guys. I'm telling you right now, go look it up. Go look up the meeting that Biden refused. A week later, Trump took the meeting. And then right after that is when everything started to funnel right down to the election and Trump winning by a landslide.
That's freaking wild. I just threw the video here where you can change like my photo to you. If you play that, it should have the audio in it.
Oh, yeah, I got it. Okay.
Play that just for like a minute and a half of it.
Yep.
Power of the purse, and we will use it. Use the power of the purse to stop.
This was 2022 before they won the midterms.
If you fund it, you own it.
That's why we have to look at the power of the purse. We have to look at the appropriations process.
One is oversight, and that's a job that we have, and also, of course, the use of the power of the purse.
Let me be very clear. We will use the power of the purse and the power of the subpoena to get the job done.
We're going to use all of our congressional leverage as a majority party by controlling which referred to commonly as the power of the purse.
That body, which stands for election every 2 years, to be the body closest to the people, deciding how we spend the money. So we have to exercise our authority, the power of the purse, to limit what the federal government, what the FBI and the Justice Department are doing to the American people.
I'm going to pause it there because I don't want to get flagged for like copyright or whatever, but dude, that's crazy. So explain, so dive into that a little bit. And guys, I put this on, I tagged this up, but make sure you guys go follow Ryan if you haven't yet. Support Ryan any way you can. I'm sure you have all your links and stuff on your pages and everything, Ryan. But yeah, please go support Ryan, guys.
So that was clip was by a gentleman by the name of Max Evans. He's no longer with us, so RIP Max, but he used to make all those great videos. That was in 2022 leading up to the midterms or right after the midterms when they promised us. Remember, we got lectured for 2 years about, it's like almost like the Republicans want to lose. Like I said, put out a video last week. They're really good at one thing, and that's sabotaging their own party. They're probably the best at it, right? Like when we won this election in 2024, we thought the Democrat Party was done. We thought the mainstream media was dead. These people would never be resurrected. There was no way that a Democrat was ever going to win an election for hundreds of years. And what happened? The last like 5 elections, they've won 4 out of 5 seats, which is absolutely insane. So, and it's because Republicans made promises like this. So leading up to the midterms for 2 years under the Biden administration, all we heard was how Biden's out of control and how Republicans can write legislation if they get power of the House, and they can defund every one of Biden's executive orders. So that's like the main purpose of Congress, is they have the ability, like the president could be rogue, the Senate could be rogue. Well, we can defund all of their operations just by having a House that passes and writes legislation, which is what they promised us. When they're talking about using the power of the purse, that's what they meant. They had the ability to defund all the NGOs that were bringing all the migrants in. They had the ability to defund the NGOs that are housing the migrant children. They had the ability to defund every single executive order that Biden put into place. Without an executive order, without funding, the executive order can't be carried out. Okay, so that's what our government was supposed to do. That is the power. We just seen it happen. Perfect example. Massey and the Epstein files. When they wrote that law that was supposed to force the release of the Epstein files, that's what your government has the ability to do. And that's the power of the legislators. They don't do that. That's what we pay these people. Their sole purpose is to do that job for us and prevent these things from happening. But when they're controlled by a foreign nation, they don't work on behalf of the American people. They work on behalf of that foreign nation. And you can see the way that Israel has control over our government. You don't think that they were behind opening our borders? You are out of your gosh damn mind. So they get the benefit from the Biden administration by bringing all the migrants in. And then under the Trump administration, they get the benefit being the deporters. We're behind mass deportation. And Charlie Kirk said it best, right? It's these J-ish organizations that are behind everything. They're behind the
Nonprofits, the
NGOs,
lobbies, all of it. Yep.
all of it. All of it, guys.
And you know, he's dead now.
Yeah.
Interesting enough, he was the most influential person to the two youngest generations, which are the most valuable generations to Israel and their cause.
There was no second strike on Iran with Charlie Kirk alive, period. It would have never happened. It would have never been able to happen. Charlie Kirk was so he was so disappointed in Trump when he struck Iran. And then when they said that this was it was just the one strike, the 7 days, it's over, we're done, we're never doing it again. Charlie's like, okay, cool, great. We're never doing it again. Trump promises he was going to destroy those nuclear facilities, but you could even see Charlie couldn't get on board with even the rhetoric around.
He was so outspoken. He was so outspoken about Iran. And he literally, I can't remember where the interview was or who he was talking to, but he was literally talking about the obsession with Iran. He was talking about like Lindsey Graham, all these guys, and he was basically calling them obsessed. He was like, it's an unhealthy obsession with Iran. And there's even a clip, I don't know if you saw this, but there's even a clip where he's praising the people of Iran and how smart they are and how capable they are and everything at one of his rallies that he was doing. He was interviewing an Iranian student and praising them. So yeah, dude, and here's the thing too. If you are still in the camp of believing the official narrative with the Charlie Kirk stuff, like I don't know how to help you at this point. You are the same type of person that believes the narrative of 9/11. Like it's so far beyond how can you possibly believe this? It's more of you have to be mentally retarded at this point. Like it's not there. There's zero chance that the official narrative for either of those things is true. And now with everything that's come out about Turning Point and about Erica, Erica Kirk's running for president. Mark my words. Mark my words. She's running for president.
Vice president.
I actually think she's going to run for president.
What party?
Republican. Think about it.
What election cycle?
If they had a chance of getting, so who do you think is going to win the presidency in 28?
Who do I think is going to win?
Who do you think is going to run and win?
A Democrat.
You think it's going to be a Democrat? Okay, well, what would challenge that? A woman.
See, I don't think there's any getting past JD Vance. I don't think he's got too much power. I don't think you're going to put a woman in there. I think you're going to add her as a
JD's
VP.
part of it. Unless JD's part of it. And unless the entire thing was a honeypot to set this up exactly how they are. They have all the power. They have all the money.
I think she makes him as VP. It just makes so much more sense. And then maybe you run her in 2032 if,
Maybe. But I don't think JD Vance has a chance. I think JD Vance I don't think he has a chance of winning. But I think Erica Kirk could absolutely win because she could also pull the heartstrings of the left. Not the whole left, but a lot of the Democrats simply because she's a woman.
And there's that many dumb people in our country still?
Bro. Yes.
But you can't talk. You picture Erica Kirk in a debate about politics?
Yeah.
Dude, it would be so embarrassing.
I'm dead serious. I think that is a reality. I think that's what's going to happen. I think she was a this is just my opinion, right? Allegedly. I think she was a honeypot. I think that was her whole purpose. I think that's the reason why they needed to I think Turning Point is ultimately going to be the power structure that they try to build to capture the hearts and the minds of the entire right wing and part of the left wing, youngest generation specifically with the help of the Zionist agenda in order to swing the next election towards a female candidate. And I think JD Vance is just another puppet that is helping both of those parties, who is also backed by all the AI and all the surveillance technologies that they need to make all of this possible and to roll it all out. And don't forget, Erica Kirk has literal ties to the CIA and the DOD.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I absolutely believe that's a possibility. Do I know it? No, of course not. I'm everybody's favorite conspiracy theorist, but I mean, I would not be surprised if that's the play. And I think she could. I think she could win. And the question of, do I think there's that many stupid people in this country? Yeah, I do. The fact that so many people are falling for the Minnesota thing is just, it's proof.
What Minnesota thing?
The Minneapolis thing, the Minneapolis freaking psyop right now. I legitimately feel.
Who's falling for it?
I mean, I think a lot of people are falling for it. I go read the comment sections of some of these posts, and I even just talking to some people, like it's the same playbook over again, just like we saw with BLM, just like we saw with COVID. And you have the right wing that is like gung-ho loyalists to the right wing, justifying murder, and not only murder, but they're justifying like comply or die. It's like they flipped it over. Before it was don't comply. Now it's comply or die. And they're totally falling into it. And it's crazy to watch them support this, because I get that there's nuance to the situation. Okay. I understand that. But for you to come out and support the president of the United States, Kash Patel, Carolyn Levitt saying things like, we have the Second Amendment, but, or you can carry a gun, but, or he shouldn't have been carrying a gun at a protest. Like, dude, to me, it's like people have lost their minds. They're completely cooked by the identity politics and the tribalism that's been created with the right wing. And it's to the point where they're now actively advocating for encroachment on our Second Amendment, because the Second Amendment is not a you can carry if or you can carry but. It's like
you should carry always, everywhere.
I bring my gun to the grocery store, and you better believe that I carry 2 mags. Like, that's a normal thing for anybody that understands carrying. Like, that is not a weird thing. And so the fact that he was carrying at a protest, good. He should have been carrying at a protest. Yep. But you cannot watch that footage. I'm sorry. You can't watch that footage and tell me that, like, dude, I made this post the other day. I literally put up, and believe me, I'm in the same camp that I believe J6 was a freaking FBI psyop as well. And I think that it was all set up by the freaking intelligence agencies. But dude, go watch some of the footage from there that they have of the protesters. They literally have AR-15s strapped to their chest with multiple mags and body armor, and they're punching the law enforcement officers that were there at the Capitol. And so by these people's logic, by the right wing's logic, that's saying, oh, well, he was carrying a gun and he shouldn't have been at the protest carrying a gun, and so it justifies him being mag dumped in the middle of the street. By your same logic, then all of the law enforcement at J6 should have just opened fire and mowed everybody down with their guns. No, like, obviously that's not the right thing to do, right? It's just the blatant hypocrisy and the insane, mindless, tribalistic, identity politics based cognitive dissonance is truly fascinating to me. It really because they've taken the same exact playbook over and over and over, and now they've flipped it on the right wing. And you're watching it in real time. You're watching the right wing become a bunch of bootlickers. And it's like, solely because either they're paid and compromised and they can't speak out against it, right? Because if they do, they destroy their base. I'm talking about influencers and media personalities right now, by the way. Or they are literally just that manipulated to believe that it's their side versus the other, and they cannot see past that. Like, the sides have been used and weaponized in such a fantastic and scary way that it has completely divided our country and made people not only be divided, but make every decision and every thought, all their thought process based on their side and their color, right? And it's crazy to me. It's just, yeah. I feel like I'm back in 2020, and I'm the one walking around without a mask and looking at everybody with masks on and saying, "What the hell are you guys doing? Like, how can you not see that this is what they're doing? Like, how did we not learn, right? How did we not get past this?" And yeah, dude, the amount of comments that I got after I made that comment, like, again, I understand there's nuance. Like, should he have been doing what he was doing? Is he who he says he is? No, probably not. But it doesn't matter, because it doesn't justify the fact that he was murdered. Like, it just doesn't. You can't justify that. Either way, whether accidental or on purpose or negligent discharge or whatever it may be, there still has to be consequences. And instead of there being consequences, right? Because I'm all for ICE. I'm all for the deportations. Get them all out of our country, right? I'm down. But like, instead of there being consequences for an obvious problem and an obvious misstep of killing somebody, the administration comes out and not only doesn't have, they don't like address that, they attack the Second Amendment. They say the guy's a domestic terrorist and he shouldn't have been carrying a gun. And then you have the right wing that's like, see, we told you. And then they release the other footage and it like vindicates them. Because they're like, see, we told you he was an angry leftist. He deserved to die. And it's like, what? What would happen if this guy was right wing? What would you guys be saying? If the same exact situation happened and the dude was a MAGA Republican and he got mowed down in the street by Biden's goons, what do you think the right wing would be saying right now? What do you think would be happening? They'd be losing their minds. And then if Biden came out and said he shouldn't have been carrying a gun, oh my gosh,
dude.
Are you kidding me right now? Do you know if Kamala came out and said he shouldn't be carrying a gun?
Yep.
Like the hypocrisy and the honestly retardation at this point is like off the charts. And I can't. So yeah, to answer your question, I'm kind of heated about it, but like to answer your question, do I think people are that stupid? Yeah, I do. I really do. I think that they've gotten to the point where they're so mentally captivated by their side and by the identity politics that have been created purposely in this country to divide us and to make us weak and to make us controllable. It's off the charts, man.
You know, I keep going back to it being our intelligence agencies. And I don't know
100%.
how much of this, I think now with AI and bots, like the amount of fake accounts I bet you are on X, you know, when you have access to know the algorithm, right? So you know exactly how many tweets need to be made in a short period of time to get something to go viral or start trending. When you're an intelligence agency, you have to able to deploy these things at, like you're Israel, right? You want mass outrage over riots in Minnesota, you can make a few strokes on a keyboard, something goes trending. Once things are trending, then people like myself and every single influencer that makes content, we're all looking at the trending tab, saying, oh, what do we want to talk about today? And boom, oh, this is trending, boom. Then all of a sudden we start talking about it. Next thing you know, you've manufactured this outrage when only really 10 or 20 real people could be talking about the actual issue, but it's all fake. You don't know.
And that's exactly what happened with this video yesterday, dude. With the video, the extra footage that they just found after he died and conveniently after the administration said all the stupid things they said and they got all the backlash that they did and all the craziness online, the footage that they mysteriously found that don't worry guys, his parents said it was real, so it's got to be real. Like this footage that just popped up, nobody finds it strange that every single major MAGA talking head posted it at almost the exact same time. I posted this video, dude, if you didn't watch this video of mine yesterday, go watch it. I literally screen recorded my X feed and it was every single post for like 4 scrolls. Every single one of them, the same video. It was the same thing. And I'm like, guys, you see that when the left does it and you understand what they're doing. Why can you not see that this is what's happening on the right now? And by the way, I even came back and said, okay, they found more footage, like, because I originally said it was AI. I said the original video was probably AI. And then I backtracked and I said, maybe not, maybe they're right, maybe it's real. But even so, even if it is real, like it still doesn't justify murdering him, right? But then I started to think about it and I'm like, no, you know what? I still think this crap is AI. Like when you watch that second video, okay, so in the first one, he's waving a phone around. He did not, he brandished his weapon. Brandishing your weapon, I have my little Lego gun right here. Brandishing your weapon means like waving it or putting it out, okay? That's brandishing your weapon. It was on his 6th the whole time until they took it away from him. He had a phone and he was filming and he was walking in the street. And then he stepped in between an ICE agent and a chick that was getting pepper sprayed. Whether he should have done that or not, probably not. But it doesn't justify him being disarmed, thrown to the ground, disarmed, and then mag dumped. Okay? So there's that. But then let's just talk about the second video. So in that video, in that situation, he's killed. Okay? In this next one, he kicks out the taillight, spits on the agent, screams F you and you mother effer like 6 times and is literally violently like aggressive towards these people. And according to the video, which by the way, never finishes, right? It just cuts off. And it's also narrated by an AI voice. According to this video, they dogpiled him and then they just let him go and they walked away.
Yeah, I heard that.
Like, I'm sorry, what? So why did they kill him in the other one?
Yep. He assaulted,
It's like,
he broke out the window. He kicked out the window of their car. They went and tackled him. Why would you
Bro.
not arrest him for destroying
dude,
government property?
And I'll tell you what, man, that was like a Super Saiyan kick because he straight up destroyed that taillight with his foot. He must have a massive steel boot on.
Or he's an asset of our intelligence agency. That would make the most logical sense why you would be allowed to destroy a government vehicle, get detained, and then just magically released without getting charges. The only way that would happen is if the law enforcement officers pull up your record and they start scrolling down and there's things in your file that say, yep, maybe this guy's an asset of our intelligence agencies. And then magically that file, the second this shooting happens, all wiped, all gone, never existed.
And man, if you wanted to continue to create all the chaos you need to hide the Somali fraud and distract everybody from that, and then also create enough distraction and chaos to make people forget about the Epstein files, right?
Yep.
To make them stop looking at the geopolitics that are happening right now, to forget about Gaza, to forget about the fact that they are now burning the settlements to the ground, forget about the fact that they are bombing Lebanon, all with our money and our tax dollars, to the fact that we are going to now take over another country. Like, if you wanted to make everybody forget all that stuff and you wanted to do it right before election season, you would stage something stupid like that, right? Yeah. But see, I'm the crazy conspiracy theorist now on the right. Now the right wing is like, you've lost it, dude. You've lost the plot. You got to trust the plan, bro. Like,
yep.
I am completely, I mean, I've always been politically homeless, but at this point, like I am one thing. I am an America first patriot, period. And honestly, at this point, I'm basically an America only patriot. I definitely think that there's a place for world trade. And I do believe in the fact that we need to give to receive. Just, that's a universal and spiritual law. And I think that works with countries as well. But like at this point, we got 2 broken arms and a broken foot, and we're trying to lift people up off the ground and carry them to safety.
Well, it's crazy. I was talking to a gentleman, his name's Diego, and he's in my documentary on the CPS. And he told me, he was talking about some millionaire that he used to follow. This guy was one of the reasons why he got multiple passports, why he started opening up bank accounts outside of America, why, all these things. And he said, one of my favorite quotes was from this man was, he was being interviewed by CNN and they asked like, what's going to happen when the Iraq war starts? And he says, I don't know. I'll be sitting on a beach, in some third world country, watching you send your children off to die in some war for some bankers while I'm sipping a margarita on the beach. And you're not going to stay and fight and defend your country. And he just laughed. He just laughed, never even answered the question. And my buddy Diego told me that. And I went to, I'm always traveling. I'm out of the country. When I went to El Salvador, when I get into the country of El Salvador, number one, there's no corruption, right? It's the greatest place in the world. If you want to see what the American dream felt and looked like, and you want to actually partake in the American dream, go move to El Salvador right now, and you're there. You have a construction company, you do tile work, you do flooring, you do anything, and you have the ability to build. I could give you full-time work like tomorrow, like today, right now. You want to pack up and move to El Salvador and help me finish my house? You do roads, you do streets, you do anything. I'll employ you right now, and you'll make. I got $100,000 worth of bills coming up that are going to be due in the next year that are all construction related. And I'm just one person, and I still want to put 8 more places, 8 more. I have 8 lots that I got, and I want to put 8 more houses on them. That's just me. You can't turn down a road and not see construction. Everywhere you look, there's high rises being built. Where I'm going with this is when I get into that country, you know what I'm worried about? I'm worried about making money and my family. That's it. I'm not worried about any blind allegiance that I have to this nation. I'm not worried about their political landscape. All I'm worried about is the politicians staying out of my pocketbook and staying out of my way so I can chase whatever dream it is that I'm chasing. Whatever business I want to start, whatever assets I want to buy, whatever I want to do, I just want the government to protect my private property rights. I want somebody to not be able to steal my property. And I want little government, maximal freedom. That's what you have in El Salvador. But that's how I feel that the Israelis are about America, right? When they come to this country, even if they're born here, their allegiance isn't to America. Every single person from the Jewish descent, they're all aligned to Israel, right? They put that country first. So they're here to exploit us, not even necessarily exploit us. They're just here to partake in this system. And this system allows them to exploit it and actually benefit from it. If you're an Israeli citizen, you come over here on an HB1 visa, you don't have to pay Social Security taxes. That's insane. I go to El Salvador and I'm instantly in the top tax bracket as a foreigner, 30%. instantly. Okay. You come to America as a foreigner, you get benefits that the American people don't get. And I tell this again to Trump, right? He did this gold visa, $5 million or $1 million, whatever the cost of it is. I'm pretty sure it's $5 million. You get a gold visa. You can buy citizenship here in America. Well, if that's the case, why are you printing away our children's future? You're already doing that with the dollar. You're already doing that to mega corporations. Now you're going to let foreigners come in here and take my child's birthright away for $5 million. Why don't you let me sell my birth certificate? Why don't you let me sell my passport? I mean, as an American citizen, if you want to leave this country and never come back or have to go through the visa program, you can sell your citizenship for $5 million. How many people would take theirs, their wives, their kids, passports, 15 million for all three? I'll give them to you for 12 million. Take all three. Done. Boom. How many of us would take that million and be gone out of this country? Do you know any single person that lives in the middle class that makes less than $100,000 a year that wouldn't sell their passport right now for $5 million? I don't know one. So why does Trump think that he has the right to sell away our citizenship to foreigners and profit from it? Did we get a tax discount? Did we get a break? Do we not have to pay some type of tax? No.
And you know what's even crazier too is, and I'm sure you know this. I don't know how many people know this, but so like I said, I have some buddies that are part of ICE, and they give to migrants when they deport these migrants before they go back to their country. They give them checks for $2,600. Did you know that?
Say that again.
Yeah, they give the illegal immigrants $2,600 a piece before they get back, before they send them back to their country.
That's where they're paying them to leave and self-deport right now.
Yeah. So they get their information and they say, okay, cool. Here's your check. See you later. $2,600. That's your money. That's my money.
Dude, it's insane. And your friend, you got a super chat that came in and it says, have either of you ever deep dived into Project Looking Glass? But
yeah. So let me preface this really quick. I put that up there because I want to answer it, but I want to be respectful of your time too. Are you still good, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm good for another 8 minutes or so, 10 minutes.
Okay. So guys, we'll move on to that now. We'll do some super chats. Anything you guys put in super chats, I'm going to split with Ryan because he's my guest. I always do that. So any way you guys can support us, please throw it in there. We appreciate you guys and we'll answer those questions. Let's start with this one. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah. So Project Looking Glass is really, really cool. And it says, but with gifted kids and AI Sylvia, it now Sadie. I don't know about that last part, but I have looked into the Project Looking Glass. So allegedly, like the powers that be have these portals, if you will, that allow you have to somehow open them. And I heard this, I think this is where the child sacrifice comes into. I think that there's some type of dark energy that you need to harness to open these portals. And the portals allow you to peer into the future and they allow you to see things. And I understand the length of how long they're open or how they are actually operated, but they can see something in the future. And the rumor is that the powers that be, the people that control the world, have been attempting to change the course of history by creating catastrophic world events. Like COVID-19 was one of them, because allegedly they're looking into this looking glass and they're seeing something that's so catastrophic in the future, which would probably be their demise, that they are trying to prevent from happening. And they think they can do this by releasing a virus and killing millions of people, all at once simultaneously. And then they peer back into it again and the future hasn't changed. It's like they keep trying these things to change this future that they're seeing that obviously must be catastrophic for them, but at no end, that they can't figure out how to actually, that the future has already written itself. No matter what we do, what you do, it's not going to change it. So
yeah, there's another piece to this too. And that is that this is why the depopulation agenda is so important. This is why people believe that people like Bill Gates and some of these other people are part of this massive depopulation agenda. And also, it's why many people believe that what's happening with Hollywood right now is geared so much towards world-ending events, right? If you think about all the different things that have come out, it's so much about the world ending or humanity being diminished or whatever. Like everything from Marvel movies to normal TV shows, like so much of it is about like Armageddon style events. And a lot of people that believe in Project Looking Glass is that part of Project Looking Glass is also conjuring these events by putting it out into the universe. So the whole idea of like, they have to tell us what they're doing before they do it. Many people believe that what they're doing is not only telling us what they're going to do before they do it, but they're actually telling us because it's putting that energy out into the universe or whatever to create these events, which will ultimately do what you said, which is prevent their demise ultimately. So, yeah.
And then she said with the gifted kids and AI. So I was watching this video and I tried to find it a second time and I couldn't find it, but it was
Is she talking about Montauk?
I don't know. Maybe she'll say it here in the live chat again.
Like, is that the whole Stranger Things thing?
Okay, here she says she did again. She said apparently the kids are using kids to talk telepathically through AI. The UAPs. It's called Sylvia. Now it's called Sadie. Okay.
Oh, I do know what she's talking about. Yep.
I watched this one video of this school where they're teaching kids so they have blindfolds on. And this woman holds out a card, yellow, blue, green. And these kids are like, bop, 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 with completely blind. They can't see what she's showing them. And it's numbers, it's fingers. And these kids are all blindfolded and they're able to see. And they're able to, so they're teaching kids how to use some type of senses that we don't understand that we have. Your third eye, if you will.
Yep.
And I think a part of it, if you talk about the jabs, right? The reason that there's metals in them, and we kind of touched on it earlier where I was talking about frequencies. Everything is a positive and a negative charge, right? And you think about if everything is energy based and frequency based, what is the worst thing for a magnet, right? Like aluminum, right? Some type of metal that's not conductive. And what are they putting in the jabs? They're putting all this metal into our bodies. And I think the metal and why you get them at such a young age is because I believe it's at like 2 or 3 when you start developing some type of specific powers, right? Some type of ability to harness your I don't know. And I also don't know. Think about like if you've never played baseball before, or if you've never ridden a skateboard, it's probably the easiest one. Most people have tried to jump on a skateboard once, and they're like, oh, and they're falling on their butt, right? Because your body hasn't been trained how to use, your senses and your ability and your stabilization and everything to actually, and then you look at some kids that are pros at it and they're, triple kick flipping 10 stairs and crazy shit that you can't even wrap your head around because they develop that skill set. I think same thing as a child, these skill sets that we don't fully understand how to use, Einstein said it best, if you could use 100% of your brain, you'd be pure energy, right? You could literally time travel. And I think we actually have the ability to do a lot of things that we don't realize that we have the ability to do, partially because we haven't been trained, but partially because they inject these metals into our body, which would completely, throw off your body's natural frequencies. So I think your best case study would probably be the Amish,
Yep. And the amount of so I read this somewhere. I'm not sure if this is totally true or not, but I read somewhere that there is apparently like an abnormal amount of savants that come out of the Amish.
Part of Looking Glass too was they allegedly certain kids at certain times have these specific powers, right? It's like the guy that could swim underwater for like 10 or 15 minutes, right? And and as you develop these things, like the government basically hunts you down. Rumor was that like there's a way, like you remember was it the MEP test or whatever we took back when we were like in 3rd or 4th or 5th grade, right? Like they had these standardized tests that basically every kid in the world was basically forced to take. Well, those tests weren't actually to see how smart you were, right? It was for our intelligence agencies to figure out if you were developing, basically a superpower, the ability to things that other kids didn't have. And if you scored high enough on that, that's when you got basically handpicked out and we're going to sponsor you and send you to this private school, right? And it's
that has a lot to do with Project Montauk. I don't know how much you know about Project Montauk, but have you heard of it or you had never heard of it?
Never.
Project Montauk is what they made the movie or the show Stranger Things after. They were going to call it Project Montauk, or they were going to call it Montauk. So Montauk it's a literal military base that's in upstate New York. And allegedly, it's where they were doing experiments on kids and doing exactly this. They had something called the experiment of the chair. You can look all this up. This is 100% like documented. And they were doing exactly this. They were experimenting with kids in telepathy. And they were also, allegedly, they found these kids that were actually able to teleport into another dimension and break the seal between 2 dimensions. And so, and also they were starting to have these weird, they did these weird experiments. And so there's literally people to this day that are in that area that will tell you that they remember these weird looking animals washing up on shore that were coming from where the base was, that were like alien looking animals, like almost like they took different animals and like blended them together. And the theory goes that those are things that came through the other dimension when these kids opened it up. So this is 100% like a documented thing, and that place is actually, it exists to this day. I bet you after this, if you ask your following, you'll have a bunch of people, because it was crazy when I started talking about this. I had people from that area in New York message me and be like, "Yeah, everybody knows about this locally. Like this is 100% a local thing," and it's crazy, dude. It's crazy when you start digging into that, because everything you're talking about is literally part of Montauk, and so. Stranger Things, right? My conspiracy brain, they created Stranger Things once again as part of this whole Mockingbird idea. Because what they do, they pair an impossibility with Hollywood specifically, right? They pair an impossibility with a possibility, and then they project it on a screen. And the reason why is because the subconscious mind, once you put the impossibility next to the possibility, you almost immediately cancel out the possibility because of how crazy the impossibility is. So for example, Thanos. Okay, I always use this as an example because it's a really good one. Thanos is this big purple god that supposedly he collects these colorful jewels that give him the power to snap his finger and kill half the planet. Why does he do it? Because he feels like it's his mission to depopulate planets in order to make them grow better and survive. And it's actually this like benevolent thing that he does, right? And he doesn't want to, and he feels bad about it and blah, blah. So that's the story of Marvel and Thanos, right? The impossibility is the big purple god that collects colorful jewels and snaps his finger. The possibility is that there could be somebody who believes the same way that he does, that they need to depopulate the planet because it's for everybody's own good, and it's to save the planet and make us survive, and that they don't want to do it, but it's for the good of humanity, right? That's an absolute possibility. But when you go and talk about, for example, like a Bill Gates or somebody who allegedly many people think maybe has that same mindset, right? Most people will immediately throw it out because of Thanos, because of that implant of the impossibility. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Montauk is the same thing with Stranger Things. They took Stranger Things and they made these crazy flower-looking alien creatures that come out and eat people alive, and this massive spider-looking demon that crawls around in these ultimate dimensions, and they create all these crazy impossibilities, but they don't talk about the possibility that there could have been a lab that the government funded and brought these kids to try and create these super telepathic, human kids. Just like Elon Musk. So you take a look at... You took it right out of my mouth. Astral projecting, right? Astral projecting was documented by the CIA, and I believe it was the Gateway process, right? So the teacher of this created this audio book, and you can only find the real one, I believe, on eBay. You might be able to get a copy of it in Spotify, but I don't know if it's been modified. You definitely want to go and attempt to get the legit one, right? So the idea is that when you go to sleep, right, you go into this dream state. Now, imagine being able to go into a dream state, but so your body's sleeping and healing, but your mind is still wide awake. You can then go into this other dimension, in the dream state dimension, and you can do this with a partner. Yep. Right. So you and your girlfriend could go lay in bed, and you put on these headphones. Right. People can do it naturally without the headphones, but the guy walks you through this process. You have these headphones, and it plays like a, and just in one ear. And then he'll count to 10, tell you to do some breathe out, breathe in, and it goes in the next ear. And it's like a half-hour long process of like teaching and programming yourself how to put your body to sleep, but keep your mind awake. And then when your mind's awake, you can travel to other dimensions. So you can go into the past, you can go into the future. And this is where people talk about getting possessed. And this is how we think that the exorcism and most people actually get possessed, because when you're going into this dimension, if you're not prepared and you don't know what you're going to do, you can find some really dark forces, and those dark forces can actually take over your subconscious. So when you wake back up, you're no longer yourself, if that makes sense. You're yourself, but there's something else in there with you. So, yes. And I talked to this with Redacted and Clayton Morris, and Clayton Morris is, I actually did it when we were kids. People use DMT for this, or not DMT. DMT. Yeah, DMT. Yeah, they use DMT for this. So, Redacted or Rogan was talking about these people that, and I haven't tried this yet, but hopefully one day I will. You take DMT and you stare at a laser on the wall. Right. Yep. Like they put this laser across the wall, and every single person, it was on Rogan. Yeah. Who was it that he talked to? Because I listened to this episode. I forget the guy's name. It's such a good episode. Sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead. No. Yeah. It's crazy. So you take DMT, and then you look at this laser that they put the laser on the wall, and everybody starts to see the code.
and the numbers, the same code, the same different people, right? And one time I did it with my girlfriend at Forest. We were on my truck, right, on the bed of my Hummer, and I put my and the sunrise was just coming up. This was at Electric Forest, and I put my memory foam on top of my Hummer, right? So it made like a bed on there. And then me and my girlfriend got laid in the bed of my truck, and one of my buddies was like, "Hey, I'm gonna do it to you guys. You got to dose it right." And he had one of those like pens. He's like, "Take a deep breath and inhale and count to 10. Hold it. I'm gonna count to 10. Blow it out. And we're gonna do this 3 times, right? And then I'm gonna go over and I'm gonna do your girlfriend because it only lasts for like 5 minutes at the most, right?" So he does it to me. And me and my girlfriend go to the end of my Hummer where we're like sitting on the edge with our feet hanging over like little kids like on a chair, you know, and we're sitting there looking at the sky and we're seeing things that are obviously a hallucination, right? Like it's not, the clouds aren't turning into a face and circles and things and weird things, right? Well, I'm seeing things and my girlfriend's like, "Are you seeing that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, this guy's like blowing circles out of his mouth or something like that. The clouds, like the guy's like shooting an arrow through the clouds or something." My girlfriend's like, "Yeah, and the arrow just hit a ball," right? And I'm like, and I just like, I'm hallucinating. But you're seeing the same thing that I am seeing. How is this humanly possible? Like to the T, descriptions. Like I was tripping, but I was more mind blown that she was seeing the exact same thing I am. I said, "Tell me something else. This, boom, boom." And it was all there. I was seeing all of the same shit that wasn't really there, but we're both seeing it together. And I could never, to this day, I still can't explain how that was feasibly possible for 2 minds to be next to each other and be connected and seeing the same type of hallucination. It doesn't make sense to me. So ever since then, I was like, there's some, you know, and you take mushrooms or acid or LSD or whatever, and you feel like there's more to life, right? Like, you know, the people that have taken too many mushrooms, you probably try to figure out the meaning of life before, right? When you like overdo it, and you're like really trying to solve the meaning of life and figure it out. And you're like, but you know, when you take mushrooms, you can see the trees breathe. And you can see how the air needs to be clean for the trees to breathe. And you don't want to litter because you see it's a world, and it's like this euphoric feeling that you get. And I don't know, I've always just felt like there was, you know, you're watching the people that are doing the telekinesis or the, what is the shit where you can control something with your mind, like a physical object?
Yeah, no, I think is it telekinesis? I think it's telekinesis.
Maybe somebody in the live chat will tell us, but I've been watching these girls on Instagram and on these reels, and it could be completely fake, could be AI, but they put a piece of tinfoil on like a pin, right? So the pin's there and the tinfoil's on it, and it's kind of bent into like a circle thing, so it could like kind of like spin on this point. And I'm watching these girls with their hands moving this piece of tinfoil, and it's like I'm watching them do it. I tried it myself. I've been trying to do it a couple times, and then I watched another girl was like, "Hey, if you've been sitting here for 10 minutes and you haven't got this to move, you need to go out to the ground, like go out to the earth, put your feet in the dirt, and get grounded, and then come back and try this again." And I couldn't find any grass in El Salvador last week, so I didn't try it again. But I bought myself one of these electric mats, you know, those like, you know, the bed sheets, like the grounded bed sheets. And I got the grounded mat by my feet right now. Yeah. I don't know if anybody's ever tried it or been able to do it, but I think we do it, man. I'm convinced that
I think all that's real too. And it is telekinesis, by the way. I think all of this stuff is possible. I think that there is absolutely another level of our brain, of our mind, of capability of a human that you unlock. I mean, it's the same thing. Like when you think about all these people that do these like death-defying things, right? Or they accomplish these incredible feats of man. And it's like, how did they do that? You unlock it's not about your body. You unlock a different level of your mind. And that's what allows you to be capable of doing some of these things that these people do. And it's like, I 100% believe that's the truth. I don't think we've unlocked 80% of the capability of the human mind. And I think you're definitely onto something with the metals in our food and all these different things. I think it's absolutely one of the reasons why that's there. It's to dumb us down. It's to make it so that we can't become the superhumans that we're supposed to be, to keep us down. And going even further than that. Yeah, absolutely. Going even further than that, and this is what I've said, I think that's why AI is such a, it's not just because of the power of AI that these people are so interested in it. I think it's because AI ultimately makes us want to give away 80% of our brain, right? Like most people that have access to AI, especially if AI continues to be what we think it's going to be, it will get to the point where people don't even have to think. Dude, I'll tell you the craziest story. During Christmas, we were shopping at the mall. We were up in Calgary, where my wife's from, and I was shopping for something for my brother-in-law. And I'm texting him and I'm saying, and I'm just like asking him for ideas. I'm like, dude, you got to give me some ideas. Like, you're the worst person to shop for. He really is. I have zero idea what to get this kid. And I'm like, just give me some ideas. And dude, do you know what he said to me? He goes, I don't know, man, just whatever. And I was like, come on, just give me like 5 ideas. And he's like, okay, hold on a second. I'm going to chat GPT it. And I was like, wait a second, what? I was like, you're going to ask an AI bot what gifts you want for Christmas? Did I hear that right? Like, I actually called him and I said that. And he's like, yeah, bro, it knows me. I'm just going to ask it what I want. And I was like, it was the moment that I was like, I'm my dad, or like, I'm our parents. And I'm looking at these kids like, what? But this was a crazy, crazy out of pocket moment for me. And it made me realize that's the goal for AI, dude. AI, I've said this many times and people push back on this, but I think AI is the mark of the beast. And I think whatever sentient being, because I do believe a sentient being is going to come from AI, I think that is the Antichrist. I think the Antichrist is going to be whatever sentient being AGI creates, because it's going to defy the laws of God, defy the laws of nature. It's going to have more knowledge. It's going to create knowledge, right? And it's not going to be governed by anything. And that ultimately is the Antichrist. I mean, that's what that would be. And the more that I look at how AI is not only taking away the desire to have more knowledge, it's also taking away the desire to make decisions. It's taking away people's free agency without them realizing it. They're voluntarily giving up their agency and their ability to think and reason. And it literally is creating actual digital slaves. And like, if you think about the power you think about what AI is actually doing, right? AI effectively is eliminating the fact that right now, what creates value right now? Scarcity of knowledge, right? Scarcity of knowledge is what creates value in the world. People that have more knowledge than others are able to create more, build more, make more money, whatever it may be. Like, knowledge ultimately is what's controlling value, right?
Yeah.
AI eliminates it. Once AI becomes what we think it's going to become, what everybody warns it's going to become, there is no more scarcity of knowledge. Like, everybody has all of the knowledge that they need at their fingertips. So what becomes valuable? That's where I believe they're going to create another caste system. I think a new class system is going to be created, and it's not going to be based on it's not going to be based on income or money. It's going to be based on the level of knowledge that you have. And that level of knowledge is going to be controlled by the same people that are controlling the money right now.
Damn, that's deep. I don't think you're far off, brother. I think you're probably spot on that. It's spot on.
It's wild, dude.
Wild shit, man. Well, I gotta get running here in a minute. So
yeah. No, that was dude, that was great. That was a great conversation. I think everybody can agree with me. That was an awesome interview. Thanks again for coming, brother. Really appreciate you. Tell everybody where they can find you again and how they can support you. Include that for sure, though. You can plug. Go ahead and plug.
Yeah, man. Just at Ryan Matta over on X is the easiest place to find me on. I'm over on YouTube at Ryan Matta. I forget I was over in the live chat with everybody. Rumble is Ryan Matta. You just find me on Ryan Matta everywhere, guys. I greatly appreciate it. And you guys check out any of my films over on X. All of my documentaries are in the highlights tab. So if you want to see any of my work or see any of these documentaries I put together, they'll blow your mind. They're really intense. They're fast paced. They're not slow. It's not like these boring ass documentaries that you watch. You can't stand the first 10 minutes. You start watching them for the first 10 minutes, you won't be able to stop.
Super good, man.
They're so well put together and just fast and in your face. So hope you guys enjoy the content, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, Ian.
Yeah, brother. Appreciate you. Hey, guys, thank you so much. Once again, remember, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to my YouTube. Consider supporting me through there. Consider supporting me subscribing on X. I do subscriber only content. Instagram, iWinster, Facebook, all the different things. Follow me, support me. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for being here. And share this live. Share this live if you got something out of it. Share it with a little caption that just, what did you get out of it? What did you appreciate the most? And make sure you tag Ryan. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ryan, later.
Peace, brother.